Chapter 91. Lu Cheng. Qin Rui, who was more than 1.9 meters tall, never liked compact cars because he had to lower his head to sit in them. But at this moment, he completely forgot about this. He straightened his back and hit his head on the roof of the car. Instinctively, he began to grimace. However, all this could not diminish the shock, astonishment, and confusion in his eyes. Did I see it wrong? The one standing in front of the man in black exercise clothes is actually my high school classmate, Lu Cheng. Why is he here? Why does he dare to stop that extremely dangerous professional ninth pin master? Didn't he see that someone was kicked in the temple by that horrible devil, and his eyes burst out? Didn't he see the hideous scene of feces, urine, and blood on the ground? He has only practiced martial arts for half a year. He is simply reckless. Qin Rui subconsciously wanted to go out and help, to save the high school classmate he had just met a few days ago. However, the horrifying scene just now replayed in his mind, and a huge fear gripped his heart tightly, making him not dare to move in the slightest. He could only watch helplessly. Lu Cheng. In the BMW car, Tao Xiaofei's eyes almost popped out. He held his female companion's hand and squeezed it so hard that she jerked back and cried out in pain. For Tao Xiaofei, Lu Cheng's appearance in such a scene was a very sci-fi thing. He had no reason or strength to participate in such a terrible conflict. When the man in black exercise clothes punched his opponent's lower part, he was so scared that he almost lost control of his bladder. How could a good student like Lu Cheng dare to face this strong man who was like a devil? Tao Xiaofei seemed to be able to imagine Lu Cheng's miserable end. Incontinence, broken bones, and maybe even missing some parts. He had a feeling that he could not bear to look at it directly. He turned his head, took out his phone, and planned to call the police. Lu Cheng, I don't have martial arts, so I dare not stop you. I can only do my best to help you. From calling the police, to sending the police, to arriving, Lu Cheng probably died 17 or 18 times. Lu Cheng, Dai Linfeng and other Gushan martial arts school disciples had a deep impression of Lu Cheng, who first pointed out the mental influence problem that day. But they did not want to risk their lives for a stranger. They even looked at Qin Rui together. Once he acted impulsively, they would immediately stop him. That professional ninth pin master is too scary. Was this the strength of an expert who grew up on the brink of death? At this moment, Dai Linfeng's eyes turned cold. He saw a squad of police cars speeding over from the rearview mirror. There were no flashing lights or sounding sirens. The police car is here, but it's too late. This is a one-way street because of the random parking. They'll need at least 1 minute to get here. In that time, the rookie Lu Cheng would have been beaten to a pulp. Literally beaten to a pulp. His thoughts wandered. Stepping on the wet ground, Lu Cheng didn't know why he was here. According to his original plan, the most he would do was to give Wang Su a hand and not fight to the death with such a terrifying enemy. However, when he saw Wang Su being drenched in boiling water, falling to the ground and screaming, and the familiar face distorted beyond recognition, his blood rushed to his brain, and he became impulsive. He followed the shadows on the side of the road and approached quickly, finally blocking the fatal kick. Since he had already made his move, he had already faced the terrifying expert who had taken his life with one move. He immediately threw all his hesitation and thoughts to the back of his mind. He calmed his mind, guarded his dantian, and entered meditation. He allowed his thoughts to freeze and turn into condensed water. This will be a real life and death battle with no referee or audience. The winner lives, the loser dies. If he didn't have the actual combat experience when he saved Wang Su, he might be trembling with fear or unable to concentrate. Fortunately, the worst situation didn't happen. He even had the advantage of knowing the enemy. He knew that the enemy had a secret mental skill, and that the police could come at any time. He knew that the enemy wouldn't be willing to fight for a long time. Correspondingly, the enemy didn't know anything about him. This might be the hope of his survival. The thought flashed through his mind, but in an instant, Lu Cheng pressed the tip of his tongue against his teeth and constantly adjusted his muscles. He was ready and had a strategy to deal with the enemy. He would fight with the mercurial balance and force the enemy to retreat on his own accord. Seeing an energetic teenager with calm eyes blocking his way, The man in black exercise clothes snorted, and his momentum rose again. A green light flashed in his eyes, and he planned to end this quickly. Lu Qing suddenly felt that the scene around him had changed. From the streets flowing with boiling water and blood to the empty and desolate wilderness, a giant wolf howling at the moon, evoking the hidden fear and horror in his heart. He had expected this, so he didn't force himself to resist his emotions. Instead, he bit the tip of his tongue. The tingling pain came, and the illusion disappeared. In front of him was the man in black exercise clothes. He shook his left arm like a big spear and stabbed at Lu Qing. He didn't have time to shake his center of gravity and change his position. Lightning struck in his mind, fire set the prairie ablaze, and the snow mountain collapsed. Lu Qing directly blocked with mega avalanche and lightning and fire stance. He didn't take the posture of lowering his waist and legs, so as not to stabilize his center of gravity and lose his agility. Bam! Lu Qing's right arm just blocked the fist of the man in black exercise clothes. He felt a tingling pain at the place where they touched, as if dozens of steel needles were inserted into his flesh and stirred continuously. Even if this punch cracked his bones, he was mentally prepared to endure it. But now, the sudden and extremely sharp needle-like pain made him feel as if he had touched a hot iron pot unexpectedly. Under human instinct, his right hand suddenly swung to the side. With this swing, his chest and abdomen were exposed. The man in black exercise clothes, who had used his unique skill from the very beginning, didn't show any mercy. He pulled back his right fist slightly, and immediately shot it out. With a crisp sound and explosive force, he hit Lu Qing's chest. The whistling wind blew in his face, like the announcement of death. Swinging his center of gravity, Lu Qing exerted force on his right foot, and suddenly turned his body to the side. He narrowly parted the punch, and saw it brush past his chest. If he had chosen to lower his waist and legs, he would have been seriously injured even if he didn't die. In this situation, Lu Qing didn't even think about it. He quickly stretched out his left hand and accurately grasped the right wrist of the man, who didn't have time to withdraw it. He was about to lift and shake it. This was one of the moves of the big and small hand wrap, imitating the snake catcher. If a poisonous snake was shaken like this, all the joints of its body would be shaken open. If the enemy was shaken like this, all the joints of the arm from the fingers to the shoulder would be shaken open. Mercurial center of gravity? The man in black exercise clothes didn't have time to be surprised. His chest and abdomen suddenly swelled and contracted. His throat squirmed and his mouth opened, letting out a roar that seemed to come from the deepest part of the darkness. Dark. With a buzz, Lu Qing's ears vibrated, his mind roared, and his vision became blurred. The strength of his left hand subconsciously dispersed, and his center of gravity involuntarily lowered. The man in black exercise clothes pulled back his right hand and crossed his left arm in front of his chest. Then he drew an arc in the air, like a spear full of power, and hit Lu Qing's neck with a bam sound. If hit by this move, he would definitely die. Under the danger, Lu Qing's hair stood on end instinctively, because the man in black exercise clothes pulled back his right hand and pulled his left arm. He recovered part of his consciousness in an instant. He forced himself to endure the pain of dizziness and didn't have time to hide anything. He hurriedly raised his right hand and hammered in the narrow space. He directly used the inch force to block the incoming fist. Bang! A short and vigorous force burst out. A flame was ignited and spurted out, burning the surface of the man in black exercise clothes fist. The inch force short fight, the supernatural ability of fire. Hiss! Under the instinctive reaction of the human body, the man in black exercise clothes seemed to have accidentally touched the flame of the candle, just like Lu Qing just now. He subconsciously swung his left arm to the side. Lu Qing seized the opportunity and gathered all the strength in his body, passing it through his spine to his thigh. He tightened his muscles and pulled out his left leg with a snap, aiming straight for the space between the legs of the man in black exercise clothes. "While you're down, I'll kill you." The expression of the man in black exercise clothes suddenly changed. He didn't have time to defend himself, so he could only squeeze his legs inwards, as if he was holding his bladder. He formed the first line of defense with his thigh muscles. At the same time, He lowered his body and pressed down with his right hand like a claw, forming the second line of defense. Bang! Lu Qing kicked the muscles of the man in the inner side of his thigh. He didn't use force to break through the line of defense. Instead, he quickly adjusted his center of gravity and borrowed the rebound. He pulled back his left leg, and his upper body shot forward. His left and right arms formed a bow shape. Lightning struck down in his mind and flames spread, bringing the collapse of the snow mountain and the destruction of the white stream. Lightning and fire stance. Mega avalanche. Bang! The bowstring was stretched to the limit. 2 fists whizzed out, one from the left and one from the right. The 2 fists pierced the ears and tore the air. They hit the temples of the man in black exercise clothes with unstoppable force. The man in black exercise clothes pressed down with his right hand and couldn't withdraw it in time. His legs were squeezed inwards, so he couldn't immediately use the iron bridge or the lazy donkey roll to dodge. He could only sweep his left arm out to block the 2 fists. Bang! The man in black exercise clothes waved his left arm in a hurry. Lu Qing directly blocked the left and right arms of the man in black exercise clothes. His 2 fists still had the momentum and hit the man in the left and right temples loudly. In the air, there seemed to be a dang sound echoing. The man in black exercise clothes' eyes bulged and almost fell out. Traces of blood flowed out of his nostrils, ears, mouth, and the corner of his eyes. Gradually, his spirit faded away. His eyes were frozen with fear and unwillingness. Lu Cheng's left foot touched the ground and withdrew his fists. He looked straight into the eyes of his opponent and gasped for breath. He was more tired than if he had fought 100 matches. I killed someone. A battle between life and death was completely different from what he had expected. There was no probing, no holding back, and no ultimate moves left for the end. There was only an eruption of full strength from the beginning, and only a life and death struggle between life and death with every move. Unless it was a trap, no matter who wanted to leave their ultimate move for the end, it was very likely that they would never be able to use it. This was because the opponent wouldn't cooperate. They would only think of creating an opportunity, in the shortest amount of time, to deliver a fatal blow. A long night was fraught with dreams. If it wasn't for the fact that the opponent didn't understand him at all, didn't know that he had mastered the mercurial balance and the supernatural ability of flames, and was prepared for his secret psychic arts, he would have died at least 2 times, due to his lack of determination and full strength at the beginning. Of course, the man in black training clothes was unwilling to give up. The few ultimate moves he used just now belonged to his mercurial balance and supernatural ability of fire. He didn't have the chance to use his Death Sect or Dark Sect fighting style that was comparable to 24 Blizzard strikes. This was a real life and death battle. 3 to 4 moves, 1 life. The light in the eyes of the man in black exercise clothes completely disappeared. His body went soft and collapsed. Blood flowed out of his 7 orifices, and he died with his eyes wide open. Qin Rui had been staring at the battle scene. Due to the distance, and the fact that the man in black exercise clothes had blocked most of the details of the battle, he could only vaguely see that Lu Qing didn't fall as expected. It can't be. He really has some strength. Qin Rui was surprised and puzzled. While his thoughts were going through his mind, he suddenly saw the man in black exercise clothes stop moving and stand at the same spot. Lu Qing is dead? His heart tightened and sorrow welled up in him. Subconsciously, he wanted to open the car door. However, at this moment, the man in black exercise clothes in his line of sight fell limply. Little by little, the figure in the white martial arts suit with black edges was revealed. It revealed the young man who was slightly out of breath, but still as calm and composed as ever. It revealed the face that was both familiar and strange to him. Qin Rui's hand froze on the handle of the car door. All he felt was that all the sounds around him had disappeared. Lu Cheng. He called out this name just like how he did at the beginning. However, it sounded like he was sleep-talking. P.S. Based on everyone's request, this article has been updated in advance. Please recommend and vote. Chapter 92. The sky was already bright, and under the light, everything clearly showed its appearance. The road leading to the river embankment intersected with the street in the old neighborhood, and there was a noodle stall, The simple tables and chairs of the stall were toppled over, and bowls, chopsticks, and noodles were all over the floor. The iron pot was upside down a dozen steps away, and the white-haired boss was paralyzed behind the natural gas stove, shivering and full of fear. Not far from him, there was a hideous body with no eyes and incontinence, and two thugs were curled up into a ball, covering different parts of their body. They were either groaning or unconscious, and their lives were quickly fading away, mixed with blood and urine around them. More than 20 meters away from the other end of the street, the ground was wet, and there were 3 people lying on the ground. One of them was curled up on his side, and the back of his ears and neck were full of burns. Another one was a man in a black exercise suit who was bleeding from his 7 orifices. And the last one was Wang Su, who could still move, but was curled up and shivering. His pistol was thrown aside, stained with mud, and reflected a faint light. In such a hellish scene, the only one standing was a teenager in a white martial arts suit with black edges. It should be said that he was a boy who had lost his childishness, and was more like a young man. He was slightly panting, and his back was straight like a javelin, and his expression was slightly confused. 4 police cars and a dozen or so police officers. When Chief Xing personally led the team to the scene, what they saw was such a bloody, terrifying and strange picture. Qin Rui also saw such a scene, which made him unable to believe his own eyes. To be honest, when he saw the man in a black exercise suit seriously injure, and even kill an enemy with one move, he was so scared that his whole body was trembling. It was not that he had never seen a fight of a professional ninth pin. The TV broadcast of the preliminaries, and the video highlights of various competitions, showed that the strength level of a person at the peak of the body refining stage was not a secret. But that was in the arena where there was restraint, and the referee to stop the fight. It was very different from the scene where life and death were decided in one move. In just a few moves, the man in black exercise clothes had perfectly demonstrated the observation, reaction, willpower, decisiveness, and improvisation of a professional ninth pin fighter. He had imprinted the cruel, brutal, tragic, bloody, and terrifying side of martial arts into his heart, leaving an indelible mark. He had made him regard him as a demon that had walked out from the depths of darkness. He had completely lost the courage and confidence to fight with him. All he knew was fear and trembling. However, such a terrifying martial artist, such a terrifying demon, had died on the spot in the blink of an eye. He was not killed by guns or weapons. He was beaten to death by another martial artist. And the one who killed him was his high school classmate, Lu Cheng, whom he had just met a few days ago. It was said that Lu Cheng had only practiced martial arts for half a year. It was the harmless, kind, and gentle Lu Cheng of the past. It was the Lu Cheng who always copied his homework and didn't know how to fight at all. It was the humorous and witty Lu Cheng, who kept joking about his martial arts level during the class reunion. He was not joking. This was probably the biggest shock, and the biggest shock Qin Rui had ever received in his 19 years of life. It made him bend down and shrink his neck. He froze beside the car window, his eyes reflecting the young man in a white martial arts suit with black edges. Damn it. I seemed to have said that he should show some of his skills when he was free. And now he really did show some of his skills. Between 2 moves the demon was killed. Lu Cheng. Tao Xiaofei almost stuck his face to the car window to see the appearance of the figure clearly. But no matter how he looked, it was his former classmate Lu Cheng. The man in black exercise clothes had caused great fear to him. He had almost lost control of his bladder, and lost control of his bladder in the car. The scene of eyeballs bursting out of their sockets kept flashing in his eyes, and the scene of someone being hit in the groin kept replaying. He felt that under normal circumstances, this was the limit of the human body's peak. It seemed that he was completely invincible. But now, the invincible person was lying on the ground, like a monument that had been crushed by someone. This person was someone he knew, someone he had never thought of. He had been hiding his skills in high school? Tao Xiaofei completely forgot that there was a charming beauty behind him, and couldn't help muttering to himself. Fortunately, I have never offended him. Fortunately, I didn't agree to Brother Feng's suggestion to help teach him a lesson. That's not right. What's the benefit of hiding his skills? People who know martial arts are everywhere. What's the point of hiding? Wouldn't it be better to show off? Damn it. Could it be that smoking and drinking would have such an effect? How the hell did I dare to be rude to him at that time? Can our relationship still be salvaged? Thinking about it, Tao Xiaofei didn't dare to get off the car, approach Lu Cheng, or say hello to him. He felt that if he really did so, he was afraid that he would pee in his pants when Lu Cheng looked at him. He would really pee. Dai Linfeng and the other disciples of Gushan Martial Arts School were not as shocked as Qin Rui and Tao Xiaofei, who had been classmates with Lu Cheng for 3 years. After all, they didn't know what kind of person Lu Cheng was before. But even so, they were still deeply shocked. An expert who seemed to be able to beat them up was so majestic just a moment ago. But in the blink of an eye, he was killed on the spot by Lu Cheng. Only with a comparison could it be clearly shown. At this moment, Dai Linfeng and the others subconsciously came up with an idea in their minds. Invincible under the dance stage. Fortunately, they were not dragged down by Tao Xiaofei, who was unable to do anything right, and had a conflict with this invincible master under the dance stage. Damn it! How could Mingwei Martial Arts School be so lucky to have an accident and narrowly avoid the competition with Lu Cheng? The cold wind blew, and the smell of blood came. Director Xing Chenggu looked at Lu Cheng, who stood out among the wounded and the dead. He couldn't help but be stunned, but soon came to his senses. He waved his hand and said to his subordinates, who pulled out their guns and aimed, "Don't be nervous. He's one of us. Quickly protect the scene, and see how many are still alive. Cooperate with the ambulance that will arrive soon to rescue the wounded." Before the departure, the experienced director felt that if there was an accident, there would be several casualties. So he directly contacted the hospital and asked the ambulance to come at the same time. It was better to run away than to waste the precious time of saving people. After the order, he looked at Lu Cheng, who was still a little stunned. He quickly approached and said loudly, "Lu? How are you? Are you okay?" "Director Xing, I was angry and couldn't help but hit him." Lu Cheng calmed down slightly and hurriedly explained, "I'm the only one who beat him up. He did all the other things." Director Xing nodded and turned to the few high-ranking subordinates who had followed him over. "Arrange for people to record the testimonies of the witnesses and find more witnesses. This is Xiao Lu. He was the one who called the police today. When he got the news, he reported it to me through an elder. I felt that time was tight and might not make it in time, so I entrusted him, who was nearby, to come over and see if he could save a few lives. Haha, he's a good student who acted bravely for a just cause." "Entrusted? When did Director Xing entrust me?" Lu Cheng was stunned, but tactfully did not refute. Director Xing issued orders one by one and arranged them in an orderly manner. When the ambulance arrived at the scene, he said to a policewoman, "Anyway, we still have to follow the procedures. You record Lu's testimony. Don't show favoritism. Do it strictly according to the rules." The policewoman curled her lips when Director Xing was not paying attention. "You said no favoritism, so you must do it. And you have already decided, haven't you? A good student who is brave for justice. Besides, if we really follow the procedures, we have to take him back to the police station to record his testimony. By the way, this is my phone. You can check the call record. It can prove that it was Lu who called the police through an elder. I also talked to him." Director Xing handed over the phone. The policewoman took it and said to Lu Cheng, "Lu, let's go to the car to record the testimony." Lu Cheng nodded and followed her to the police car in silence. He was a little depressed. I killed someone, a human life had been taken by his own hands just like that. This feeling is really complicated. However, the shock of personally killing someone was neutralized by the bloody scene made by the man in black exercise clothes. It was diluted by the bursting eyeballs and the rolling figure covering the lower part of his body. It made him feel a sense of chivalry. He didn't feel so guilty and didn't have so much shadow in his heart. Wang Su. He seemed to finally wake up and turned to look at Wang Su, who was being carried to the ambulance. Wang Su was shackled by the handcuffs. His vision was scattered, and he trembled in fear. He was like a frightened cub trembling nonstop. After going through the scene just now, his courage is gone. It's hard to say if there will be any mental trauma, but I'm sure he won't dare to fight in the future. This is good. At least after he gets out of prison, he can resume a more normal life and won't be involved in underworld matters. Well, the burns are concentrated in the back, so he won't be disfigured. Director Xing noticed Lu Cheng's gaze and said with a smile, "Obviously, no boss would want to keep a thug who didn't dare to fight anymore. That's fine too." Lu Cheng repeated this sentence, took a deep breath, and came to the side of the police car to accept the policewoman's questioning. From his name, age, school and other personal information to the cause and effect of today's incident, he answered honestly and honestly. He only blurted out one thing and added a sentence. What he blurted out was his relationship with Wang Su. He described them as ordinary childhood friends who hadn't had much contact for more than 3 years. They had only met twice recently. He told Wang Su that his master was a mighty one with physical invulnerability. He added that he was sent here by Director Xing. After regaining his ability to think, he understood Director Xing's intentions. Of course, feelings of fear, lingering fear, trembling, melancholy and other feelings came one after another. It was quite complicated. I can't be so impulsive in the future. Today I almost died on the spot. I walked the line between life and death a full 2 times. If the other party knew a little about me, then all my hot-blooded efforts would be for naught. All the feelings I pursued with all my heart would be for naught. The brilliant future I dreamed of would be for naught. Only a lonely tombstone would tell me a story of regret and unwillingness. Why am I here? What's wrong with me coming here to have sex? I'm not allowed to have sex with people. I'm not allowed to have sex in the car? At this moment, a familiar voice came into his ears. Turning his head, Lu Qing was surprised to see Tao Xiaofei, Qin Rui, senior brother Dai Linfeng and the others. Such a coincidence? That's not right. While thinking, Lu Qing resisted the urge to ask, and pretended that he didn't see or hear anything. He would ask through QQ or phone later. It was better to avoid unnecessary trouble now. With his keen senses, he noticed that Tao Xiaofei was a little nervous and flustered. However, after witnessing such a scene, it would be strange if a normal person wasn't nervous or flustered. As for coming out of the bar early in the morning and having sex in the car, it was quite in line with his style. Dai Linfeng, Qin Rui, and the others' explanation was quite far-fetched. They said that they received a call from Tao Xiaofei and came to meet him. After he finished his business, they would have breakfast together. However, the police who questioned the people from Gushan Martial Arts School seemed to have a good relationship with Dai Linfeng and didn't care. Moreover, they were just normal passers-by and didn't show any signs of being involved. They also didn't have any contact with anyone involved in the case. Therefore, after checking the communication records and taking their statements, they didn't delay them. They wrote down their contact information and were ready to send them away. After taking the statements, the policewoman asked for the statement of the stall owner. She asked Tao Xiaofei, Qin Rui, Dai Linfeng and the others who came out of the car face to face. After talking with the colleagues who were investigating the scene and examining the body for a while, she walked back to the original place and said to Lu Cheng, "Lu Cheng, you can go now." "I can go now." Lu Cheng was quite surprised. This is still a human life, isn't it? Can I go now? He was already prepared to go to the police station for a whole morning, or even a day or 2. The policewoman looked up at him and said casually, "Yes, you can go now. If you want a good Samaritan or chivalrous and courageous reward, you can give the bureau a call, and we'll help you apply." Lu Cheng was suddenly speechless, but since he didn't have to go to the police station, he was happy to do so. Without saying anything more, he walked to the side of Director Xing and squeezed out a smile. "Director Xing, thank you. You don't have to be so polite. Just call me Uncle Xing. A great teacher produces great students." Director Xing gave him a thumbs up. "Go back quickly and adjust well. Don't leave any psychological trauma. Don't worry about the follow-up. Your master found me through the provincial department." Lu Qing walked back slowly along the road. His thoughts were scattered, and he couldn't concentrate no matter how hard he tried. Suddenly, he heard the sound of a horn. He turned his head and saw Tao Xiaofei's BMW 7 Series parked next to him. He opened the door and got off the car. He smiled a little nervously and a little reverently. Lu Cheng, Brother Lu, let me take you back. Through the car window, Lu Cheng saw Qin Rue and Dai Linfeng. Chapter 93. Coming back to his senses, Lu Cheng thought quickly and nodded to Tao Xiaofei. Okay, no matter why they appeared in the vicinity, he had to warn them not to spread the news. That professional ninth pin mighty one obviously had his own inheritance and social network. Maybe someone would come to inquire about the details, which would cause a lot of trouble. Tao Xiaofei was happy and hurried back to his seat. He saw Lu Cheng open the door of the passenger seat and sit in calmly. The car started and moved forward, but no one spoke. It fell into a strange silence. Lu Cheng could see that Qin Rue, Dai Linfeng in the back, and Tao Xiaofei in the driver's seat were all very cautious, and even showed a sense of awe. They seemed to be quite unfamiliar with each other. In the quiet car, Tao Xiaofei couldn't stand the silence. He swallowed his saliva and forced a smile. Brother Lu, I didn't expect you to be so powerful. If our seats were reversed, I wouldn't believe it and wouldn't expect it. Lu Cheng hadn't calmed down yet. He forced a smile and replied, just call me Cheng. It's too exaggerated to call me brother or grandpa. Tao Xiaofei was refreshed and his smile became more natural. No, I'd better call you Brother Lu, otherwise I'll feel uncomfortable. Anyway, you're a few months older than me. By the way, when did you start practicing martial arts? How did you become so powerful? Oh my God, I was scared out of my wits. Lu Cheng's mind suddenly flashed with a sentence that Zhao Chong, the head of the department, often said when they were chatting during the holidays. He changed it and said with a bitter smile, people mainly rely on their own efforts, but they also have to consider the arrangement of fate. I have never tried to practice martial arts before, so I didn't know I had talent in this area. Fortunately, I joined the Songqing University Martial Arts Club on a whim and met a good coach. Hearing this explanation, Qin Rue and Dai Linfeng in the back row quietly heaved a sigh of relief. They felt that the doubts in their hearts had been resolved. This was how the world worked. Some people were born smart and extremely intelligent, able to produce results that would affect a century or even longer when they were in their 20s. Some people were gifted with martial arts that were 5 times, 10 times, or even dozens of times faster than the average person. For example, Shi Shan, the reincarnated Buddha of Daxing Temple, had stepped into the physical invulnerability stage at the age of 20. Cheng, I thought you were joking on the day of the class reunion. Qin Rue also calmed down and interrupted Tao Xiaofei immediately. Brother Lu, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you. I just thought you've only practiced martial arts for half a year. Furthermore, he only started practicing halfway through. One look, and I can tell that he doesn't plan to rely on it for a living. Alright, I was wrong. I was blind. Lu Cheng smiled. I didn't mean to hide it. There's nothing I can't tell you. You took it as a joke and didn't believe me. I can't do anything about it. I can't roll up my sleeves and hit you on the spot, right? While speaking, he moved his right hand and suddenly felt a stinging pain in his arm. It was the part where he was hit by the professional ninth pin master for the first time. Shocked, Lu Cheng didn't have time to continue speaking. He unbuttoned his sleeve and rolled it up. There were dozens of red and swollen spots near the elbow joint. They were densely packed and connected together. He could still feel the stinging pain. Did that professional ninth pin master hurt you? Tao Xiaofei glanced at it and was so shocked that he almost drove the car into a ditch. Qin Rue and Dai Linfeng leaned forward and took a closer look. They both gasped because this injury was so strange that it made them numb all over. Lu Cheng checked it carefully and touched it with his left hand. He was sure that it was just a red and swollen area with no blood. It didn't look like he was stabbed by a needle. He was worried that there might be some hidden danger. He didn't answer Tao Xiaofei's question and took out his phone to call his master. The reason why he didn't avoid Tao Xiaofei and the others was that he wanted to intimidate them with the strength of a physical invulnerability mighty one, so that they wouldn't dare to talk nonsense and spread it everywhere. In case he needed to go to the hospital, he might have to ask Tao Xiaofei to send him there. After a short ring, the phone was connected. Gizershur's familiar hoarse voice came through. How is it? Is it settled? It's settled. I couldn't help it and hit him. Lu Qing answered with a guilty conscience. Gizershur snorted. Hit him? Tell me the details. Lu Qing told him about his mental struggle and impulsive action. In the end he said, I know it's not good, but the blood rushed to my brain. Gizershur clicked his tongue. Don't say it. I don't have a stupid disciple like you. Without waiting for Lu Qing to answer, he paused and sighed. But who doesn't have impulsive moments when you're young? As the saying goes, if you're not impulsive when you're young, you're not brave. If you're impulsive when you're mature, you're brainless. Remember this lesson. Yes, master. Lu Qing changed the topic and talked about his injury. By the way, when I was fighting with that guy, I felt like dozens of needles had pierced into my flesh. Now it's densely packed and swollen. Is that okay, master? Gizershur thought for a while and said, Tell me the details. When Lu Qing was done, he laughed and said, I was wondering what it was. So it's the poison needle force derived from the Dark Heaven Infinite Scripture's Dark Poison Divine Fist. If you met an expert, just this force alone would be enough to end your life. Well, the infinite dark sky is commonly known as the dark sect's divine kung fu. In the era when it was perfected, it absorbed some of the content of the Taoist sect's unique skill of the plague sect, and mixed with the essence of Miaojiang's voodoo. Once it's fully mastered, it can make people sick or poisoned easily. Sometimes people can't hold back their coughs and get killed. So it's a ninth pin master of the dark sect. Lu Qing suddenly understood and asked worriedly, Master, then how should I first aid? First aid my ass. It's just the poison needle force of a professional ninth pin master. Buy a box of mosquito bites ointment and apply it for 3 days. Then you'll be fine. Gizershur laughed and scolded him. Phew. Lu Qing breathed a sigh of relief. Suddenly, the shadow in his heart from his first kill seemed to have dissipated a lot. Master, do you think that this kind of master with an inheritance will be killed by the old? Will someone come to take revenge? Lu Qing mentioned another thing that worried him. Gizershur snorted. Only if they have the ability. He slowed down his tone and continued. This kind of martial artists who live in the darkness and walk on the edge of life and death have a relatively indifferent relationship with each other. They have long been mentally prepared for each other's accidental death. If they retaliated just because someone was killed for doing something illegal, this group of people would have been wiped out long ago. Not even dregs would be left behind. Do they really think that the major forces are just decorations? Do they really think that the army and the police are decorations? Every circle has its survival philosophy. However, we can't rule out the possibility of blood relatives taking risks. I'll ask Xiaoxing to make this into a case where the police killed a bandit and keep the part involving you a secret. For good citizens who have acted bravely for a just cause, the police have a set of reliable protection procedures. The relevant people will be reminded to not let the news leak. Lu Qing was completely relieved. Master is so considerate. He thanked him and hung up the phone. When he was about to remind Qin Rui and the others, he heard Tao Xiaofei hurriedly said, Brother Lu, don't worry. I'll keep this to myself. I won't show it to anyone. Qin Rui and Dai Linfeng looked at each other and said, Cheng, there's no problem on our side. I'll tell the other brothers to unify their statements. We'll say that one of the gunmen killed the professional ninth pin and died together with him. Even the other 4 gunmen are either dead or seriously injured. Thank you very much, Lu Qing said gratefully. Dai Linfeng smiled and said, Don't worry. We won't even tell my master. His master was old, but the friend in front of him might be strong for another 10 or 20 years. To build such a friendship, it was no big deal to hide a little from his master. Although Qin Rui said that he would remind them, he still needed Dai Linfeng's help. In the eyes of the other brothers, he didn't have much prestige. After a few phone calls, Dai Linfeng said seriously, It's done. No problem. Then he hesitated and asked, Cheng, if we invite you to represent Xioshan in the preliminaries, will you accept? We can recommend you as the leader. Without hesitation, Lu Qing shook his head and said, "No. The next practice of Songqing University Martial Arts Club is to organize a team to participate in the preliminaries." "I see," Dai Linfeng murmured. He couldn't tell whether he was disappointed or happy. At this time, Tao Xiaofei's car had arrived near Lu Cheng's house. He knew that Lu Cheng lived in this area, but he didn't know which road and which street it was. "Just get off here. I need to buy some ointment." Lu Cheng didn't bring his wallet, but he could pay with his mobile phone. Tao Xiaofei was quite obedient and didn't show his usual arrogance. Dai Linfeng asked casually, "Cheng, is your master the coach of Songqing University Martial Arts Club?" "Yes, he used to be a mighty one with physical invulnerability," Lu Qing pointed out deliberately. In an instant, Dai Linfeng, Tao Xiaofei and Qin Rui froze. They almost blurted out, "No wonder. I'll go first. See you later." Lu Qing didn't delay and got off the car. After seeing him off, Tao Xiaofei exhaled and said, "That's amazing. Brother Lu, that's amazing." After he sighed, he laughed inexplicably and said, "With such a classmate and friend, I can show off in the future." Qin Rui had mixed feelings. He looked at Dai Linfeng and asked, "Are we going back to the martial arts club?" "Why should we go back to the martial arts club? Now that I've calmed down, my mind is filled with the bloody scene from before. It's all about that devil-like guy. Let's go drink. You won't be afraid when you're drunk." Tao Xiaofei interrupted and suggested, "What's there to be afraid of? Think about it. If your classmate is Lu Cheng, that devil will be scared away." Qin Rui sighed and joked. After a moment of silence, Dai Linfeng said, "I won't drink anymore. I won't drink anymore." Even a genius like Lu Cheng had to quit smoking and drinking, let alone him. After buying the ointment and returning home, Lu Cheng pretended as if nothing had happened. After eating the breakfast prepared by his mother, he entered his room and logged on QQ. He saw that Yenjika had already sent him 3 messages at different times. "I got up early too. I pulled myself out of the warm and comfortable bed. Awesome. I finished my training. How about you? Are you still training?" Looking at the messages, Lu Cheng felt a lingering fear. He regretted his impulsiveness. He was so close to never seeing these messages again. He suddenly felt that he should sincerely apologize to Coach Yen, although he didn't quite understand why he had to apologize to her. Chapter 94. Since he was going to admit his mistake, he had to be honest with Yenjika. Otherwise, what did she mean by saying that out of the blue? Lu Qing had no idea how Yenjika would react when she found out about this. He hesitated for a moment, but after careful consideration, he finally decided to confess and be lenient. If Yenjika's family had connections with the local police as he had expected, there was a high chance that she would hear about it by chance. At that time, the consequences of keeping such a major event a secret would be more serious than acting rashly. According to Kai Xiaoming, no one liked to be lied to. Men were like that, and women were even more so. Lu Cheng considered his tone and calmed down the haze that rose again because of recalling what had happened. He sent a message directly without using an emoji. "Coach Yen, I did something wrong today." Confessing also required skill. Obviously, it was not a good idea to say it all out. It was better to tell her little by little to reduce the impact and increase his legitimacy. It was better to give Yenjika some buffer time. After a while, Yenjika sent a blank emoji and said, "What did you do wrong?" Lu Qing did not go straight to the point. He said from the beginning, "When I was training today, I suddenly received a call from Wang Su. He said that their boss found the trace of a professional 9th pin and asked them to bring guns to intercept him. He felt very scared and very uncertain." "So you rushed there like a fool?" Yenjika did not use an emoji. It seemed that she did not know what to use. No, Lu Qing hurriedly denied. A professional 9th pin involved in gangs, guns, and secret spiritual methods. I'm not Superman. I haven't even reached the professional 9th pin yet. How could I have the guts and confidence to do that? My first reaction was to call the police. But considering the existence of protection on both sides, I decided to ask someone to find a trustworthy police. It would be best to scare off both sides directly without revealing Wang Su's problem. So, I didn't want to let Wang Su know. My first thought was to call you. But then I thought that you had to go through your grandfather or your mother. There might be some changes in the middle. So, I decided to call Coach Shi. He has a strong background and is not an ordinary person. He must have a lot of connections. Sure enough, Coach Shi soon contacted Deputy Director Xing of the Xiaoshan police station. Lu Qing originally wanted to say one sentence at a time instead of typing a bunch of words. But after experiencing such a thing, he was not a guy with a strong mentality. He could not completely calm down no matter how hard he tried. Once he opened his mouth, he could not wait to explain the cause and analyze his psychological changes at that time. Yenjika continued to sit in a daze. You handled it very well. If such a thing really happened, I don't think I could handle it better than you. How can this be called wrong? I made the call, but I still rushed over. Lu Qing said weakly. It's very dangerous to get involved in this. Lu Qing hurriedly explained. I thought that if Director Xing did not contact both sides in time and warn them so that the thing would not happen, he might not be able to make it in time. Anyway, I was just there to watch. If I was really confident, I would give him a hand. If not, I would not force it. My own safety is more important. After more than a minute of silence, Yenjika replied with a sigh. I thought about it. If it was me, or one of my best friends, I might be nervous and impulsive. Well, you know how to act according to circumstances, and not act blindly. It's just a small mistake. Just be more careful in the future. But in the end, I still acted blindly. Lu Qing didn't dare to say it directly. First, he described the scene that he witnessed. Based on his intuition, he emphasized the ruthlessness and coldness of the professional ninth pin fighter, and the miserable helplessness of Wang Su and the other hatchet man after they were drenched in boiling water. They threw away their pistols and rolled on the ground. He also pointed out the intentional killing of the man in black exercise clothes. Of course, he did not mention the bloody and nightmarish scene of eyeballs exploding. At that time, I was stunned. Blood rushed directly to my brain. Lu Qing said carefully. After another long ellipsis, Yenjika said, So you just jumped out of the room? Are you okay? Are you hurt? Seeing that Yenjika was concerned about this first, Lu Qing felt warm in his heart. He hurriedly said, No, I was just shocked. My emotions are very complicated, and I can't calm down. That's good. Yenjika sent a sitting and exhaling emoji and said, I was imagining a scene just now. You're in plaster and bandages all over your body. You're lying in bed like a mummy and you're sending me a message. Before Lu Qing answered, she sent a fierce emoji and said, Now you know how to be afraid? Do you dare to be so impulsive in the future? You relied on your mercurial balance to survive until the police arrived and scared the opponent away. This was the only safe way she could think of. As for surviving a head-on confrontation with a professional ninth pin, especially a professional ninth pin who grew up between life and death, it was unrealistic unless Chung had an awakening outburst like when he fought against Yi Yaoting again. However, this kind of thing could not happen continuously in a short time. No, I won. Recalling that time, Lu Qing trembled again. It seemed that he had some post-traumatic effects, so he did not directly say that he killed the opponent. You won. Yenjika sent a dumbfounded emoji and asked after a long time, How did you win? Lu Qing thought for a while, and quickly typed on the screen keyboard. It's hard to say. Let's video call, and I'll show you. Watch. Yenjika sent an emoji with a question mark on its head, and sent a request for a video call. Lu Qing immediately accepted, and soon saw Yenjika on the other side of the screen. She was wearing a fluffy white home dress, lying on a bear plushie. Her hair was tied up with a hairpin, revealing her slender white neck. Her cheeks were a little rosy, and her eyes were clear and clean. There was a little cuteness in her beauty, as if she had just come out of the shower. She frowned and pursed her lips, as if she was adjusting her image in the video call. Then she put on a serious face and said, Tell me, how did you win? Tell me the truth and I'll be lenient. Resist and I'll be strict. Looking at the delicate figure and listening to the familiar soft voice, Lu Qing's trembling body eased, and the haze in his heart dissipated. He put his hand in front of the screen and said, "Look." As he spoke, he rubbed his thumb and middle finger together, creating a slowly burning flame. Yenjika's expression suddenly became vivid. Her big black and white eyes were wide open, and her delicate elegance disappeared. Her beauty and cuteness took over. "Fire. You've awakened the supernatural ability of fire? The fight with Yi Yaoting?" She quickly came back to herself and figured out the cause. Lu Qing nodded and said, "Although the temperature is quite high, it's just a little bit. It can be extinguished by the wind, so I can only use it in the short fight. When I awakened it, I wanted to tell you immediately, but I also wanted to surprise you by performing magic for you after school started. So I didn't tell you." He hurriedly explained his original idea, so that Yenjika wouldn't think that he was deliberately hiding it. Girls wouldn't mind this kind of surprise concealment. Instead, they would be very happy. "Oh, you can do magic now," Yenjika joked. Her eyebrows relaxed and showed joy. The temperature was quite high, and the opponent was completely unprepared. If he was burned in a hurry, it was likely that he would launch a conditional discharge, which gave you the best chance to win. No wonder you could win. Then what? Lu Qing took a deep breath. The scene of the professional ninth pin's eyes quickly disappearing seemed to appear in front of him. The fear and unwillingness in his eyes appeared. He answered honestly, "Between life and death I couldn't hold back, so I killed him." "Killed him?" Yenjika murmured. She wanted to say something, but after seeing Lu Qing's repressed and tense expression, she became nervous and concerned. "Don't feel too guilty. This kind of person lurks in the dark and may have killed more people. He has done dozens of bad things, if not 100. You are helping the people get rid of evil. You are being chivalrous. Don't take it to heart." At that time, Wang Su and the others were crying on the ground. Their guns were out of their hands, but he still deliberately killed them. "You didn't do wrong to stop him." She seems to care more about whether I'm traumatized." Lu Qing was stunned. To be honest, the shock after killing the person was less than he expected. The same was true for the haze left behind. There were many reasons for this. First, he didn't have much contact with the man in black exercise clothes, so his impression of him was very thin and couldn't support the image of a living person. Second, he didn't see his family and friends, so he didn't see the kind of grief he felt. Third, he witnessed him brutally killing the enemies who had lost their ability to resist. He was cold and ruthless, which was equivalent to doing it on purpose. He felt that he was doing justice, so he didn't feel too guilty. Fourth, he couldn't hold back when he was between life and death. If it wasn't on purpose, he didn't feel too much suffering. In other words, he did have traumatized, but it was far less serious than Yenjika thought. However, at this time, he could take advantage of the situation to act pitiful and arouse her sympathy and concern. Wouldn't it make her quickly forget about the self-defense killing and his reckless and impulsive mistake, and shift her attention to comforting him? In a flash of inspiration, Lu Qing immediately put on a heavy and depressed look. "I also comforted myself like this. But after all, it's a living person. Once I calm down, I will recall the scene at that time." Later, Director Xing came to the scene and said that he asked me to stop it. He took a statement and let me go. In today's martial arts era, it was common to ask a master with a clean background to stop a crime, just like a foreign private detective to help solve a case. Yenjika said a little anxiously, "Why don't you go to the hospital, psychiatry or psychology department? You can receive counseling. You can't have traumatized, or you may have psychological problems in the future." A psychiatry or psychology department. Lu Qing was so scared that he almost broke out in a cold sweat. If he really went there, he would have problems even if he didn't have any. He quickly said, "No need. I feel much better after chatting with you for a while. You are my life mentor, and also my psychological counselor." In the mood of concern and anxiety, Yenjika couldn't help but laugh. Her shallow dimples were overflowing with beauty. "Really?" She quickly controlled her expression and asked in return. "Really?" Lu Qing answered seriously, letting the heavy depression fade away, leaving only the residual haze of his original nature. Yenjika nodded like a chick pecking rice. "Then I will counsel you properly. She picked up the silver-white notebook beside her and put it on her lap. While searching for relevant psychological information, she video chatted with Lu Cheng to counsel him. In a martial arts battle, life and death are determined once the outcome is decided. You can't hold back. If you hold back, you will die. Then you can't accept my counseling. So you are saving your life. Don't feel guilty. As they chatted, the haze in Lu Cheng's heart faded away. At this moment his phone rang. It was Qin Rui. He chose to answer and asked, "Qin Rui, what's the matter?" Qin Rui said in a strange tone, "Master Lu ran away and Jian Lao-san was caught. At least no one in the local area will want to know the truth about what happened before. I want to tell you so you can rest assured." Okay. Lu Cheng was stunned and only answered with one word. When the phone hung up and the video started again, Lu Cheng looked at the beautiful girl in front of him, listened to her soft and beautiful voice, and felt the faint concern and warmth. The haze in his heart burst out and was completely vented. This is the life I want. What underworld organization? What life and death? F***ck off. F***ck off. Chapter 95. Why was the video call cut off? Yenjika asked casually. No longer suppressing his emotions, Lu Cheng, who had completely vented his emotions, said happily, "Just now my classmate called me, the one from Gushan Martial Arts School. He said something about Lu running away. Third Jian was caught. And no one in the local underworld would care about what happened before." Yenjika opened her mouth and showed a cute expression. "No wonder you look so relaxed. Uncle Xing is quite efficient. It only took 1 or 2 hours to complete the anti-gang operation." Anti-gang operation? Lu Cheng repeated subconsciously. Yenjika said with a serious face, "A big case with 4 or 5 lives and a shooting case in the city. How can you explain to the city government and the provincial government and eliminate the social impact if you don't take action? If Uncle Xing didn't react quickly enough, even if you found Coach Sure in advance, even if the other party killed you intentionally after self-defense failed, even if the witness's testimony was favorable to you, you would still be in the police station for several days, or even half a month. What will your parents think then? Do you have to scare them to death? Now you know the consequences, right? Do you dare to be so impulsive again?" Lu Cheng was really scared and regretful. He nodded hurriedly and said, "I know. I won't be so impulsive again." According to his shallow legal knowledge, if it wasn't for Director Xing's reaction and endorsement, he would be in big trouble. At that time, Wang Su and the other hatchet man were drenched in boiling water, rolled on the ground, and threw out their pistols. It was considered an assault. When the other party caught up and killed them, it wasn't even excessive self-defense. It was already a standard murder. However, he had a call with Wang Su beforehand. It was very likely that he would be misunderstood as one of them. If he took the opportunity to kill several people, not to mention that he would definitely be sentenced, just being detained and waiting for investigation would be a big headache for his family. With Director Xing's endorsement, not only was he entrusted by the police station to help, but he was also a good citizen who acted bravely for a just cause. Wang Su's call record with him could also be considered as Wang Su's subjective performance in calling the police, and he would be given a light punishment. This was like the difference between heaven and earth. Impulsiveness is really bad. While thinking, Lu Cheng suddenly thought of something and blurted out, "Uncle Xing?" He didn't notice that Yenjika called Director Xing Uncle Xing just now. Yenjika pursed her lips and smiled, showing her dimples. "If you chose to ask me for help, you would go to Uncle Xing in the end. He is a good friend of my parents." "I see." Lu Cheng suddenly felt lucky that he had confessed. Otherwise, if Director Xing mentioned it casually in front of Yenjika or her parents one day, the consequences would be very serious. It would definitely be more serious than what he had done in order to save someone's life. Even if they were really together, they might break up. Yenjika tucked her black hair behind her ear. Her bright eyes moved up as if she was thinking about something. Soon she said, "I think you should go and thank Uncle Xing formally." Although he was asked to help by Coach Sure, after all, He really helped you and helped you out of a lot of trouble. A simple thank you is not sincere enough. Makes sense. Lu Cheng agreed that he should thank Director Xing properly. His master was his master, and he was his own person. They shouldn't be mixed together. Haven't I always been muddle-headed and depressed? I can't even remember to do this. Coach Yen, how do you think I should express my sincerity? Show your attitude. Attitude. Yen Jika nodded with satisfaction. Call Uncle Xing tonight and ask him when he is free. You want to pay him a New Year's visit and bring some small gifts. Sit for a while and say thank you sincerely. He will know that you are a person who values friendship. If you have other troubles in the future, you don't have to go through Coach Sure. You can go to him directly. A small gift will do. Lu Cheng asked with his shallow social knowledge. You don't trust me? Yen Jika glared at him and made a fierce expression to ease Lu Cheng's mood. At this time, expensive gifts are not good. First, it will make you feel distant. Second, Uncle Xing won't dare to accept it. What will Coach Sure think if he accepts your expensive gift? Third, I just endorsed you, and you give him an expensive gift. Do you think you can't use it against him? Lu Cheng nodded thoughtfully. Coach Yen, why do I feel that you know so much more than me? Especially when it comes to interpersonal relationships. Of course, girls are always more mature than boys. Yen Jika smiled and opened her pink lips, revealing a row of neat white teeth. After chatting for a while, Lu Cheng heard a female voice calling Ku from the other side of the phone. Is someone looking for you? He asked. Yen Jika took off the hairpin. Her black hair cascaded down like a waterfall. Her gentle and charming feminine charm made Lu Cheng's heart palpitate. He was silly and dazed. Yeah, my mom is calling me. I have to go to my cousin's house for the New Year at noon. Yen Jika looked at the mirror next to her and fixed her hair. It's very troublesome to celebrate the New Year in Jiangnan. I have to visit my relatives one by one. Then I have to entertain different relatives separately. I can go from the first day of the New Year to the 15th day of the New Year. What's more, the dishes in each family are about the same. Lu Cheng smiled absent-mindedly. It's very easy in Xioshan. Take my family for example. My grandpa's relatives will celebrate the New Year together. My grandpa's relatives will celebrate the New Year together. The rest of them will just visit the closest relatives. It doesn't matter if they don't visit. It's like I'm not from Xioshan. Yen Jika rolled her eyes at him. Lu Cheng felt like he was shot by an arrow. I missed the relaxing New Year in Xioshan. She continued. I'm hanging up now. Lu Cheng was about to say, okay, when a question popped up in his mind. He thought for a while and said, Coach Yen, I made a mistake today. Will you have a bad impression of me? This kind of thing shouldn't be asked directly. He should observe her body language and make up for it. But he couldn't help himself. Yen Jika bit her lower lip with her teeth. Suddenly she smiled and showed her dimples. Since you're honest and lenient, I won't leave a bad impression on you. She stopped smiling and said seriously, You're a good Chung. When you're impulsive next time, think about your parents, your friends, and your future. Don't be impulsive without considering the consequences. Fortunately, it's not a big deal this time. Yes. I'll remember Coach Yan's words. Lu Cheng put on a swearing pose and added, But this is murder, a living human life. After saying that, he couldn't help but want to slap himself. Didn't he mention something that didn't boil? What if Yen Jika was traumatized? Yen Jika's eyes would look up slightly when she was thinking, which was very cute. She thought for a while and said, Actually, I'm not as unhappy about you accidentally killing that professional ninth pin fighter, as you're involved in the mafia dispute. When you first mentioned that he raided the bar, I secretly cursed him. That hateful guy dared to come to Xioshan to make trouble and break the peace. I hoped that some hero or policeman would punish him, but I didn't expect that it wasn't a hero or a policeman. It was you, the young hero. Anyway, in my heart, he was already a dead man. She teased young hero Lu and continued, This mentality may have something to do with my family. I often hear my grandpa talk about similar things, so I think it's quite normal. If it were someone else, they wouldn't have the mood to enlighten you. Yes, my grandpa often said that from an ordinary person to a fighter, not only does one need to be reborn physically and mentally, but also to keep up with the daily mentality. Many people are very impulsive, hot-blooded, and strong when they just master good martial arts. They accidentally break the rules with martial arts. This is a common problem for many fighters. But some people make small mistakes that won't affect their future. After they pass this stage, their mentality will catch up, and they will return to the mainstream. But some people make one wrong step and can't turn back. Speaking of this, she glanced at Lu Cheng and said, "Fortunately, you can be saved. Otherwise, I won't talk to you." Lu Cheng's heart was beating fast. He said with a smile, "Please save me, Coach Yen." After listening to Yenjika's analysis, he seriously reflected after hanging up the video call. With this lesson, he wouldn't have the same impulse in the future. Once bitten, twice shy. When it was almost noon, he had completely sorted out his state of mind. Only then did he dare to go out and face his parents. But at this moment his phone suddenly rang. The number was familiar. It seemed to be Director Xing's. "Hello, Lu?" Director Xing's hearty voice came from the other side of the phone. "Yes. Hello, Director Xing. Thank you so much this time." Lu Cheng sat back on the bed. "Haha, it's nothing. It's what I should do." Director Xing lowered his voice and said, "The hospital just called me. 3 died on the spot. 1 couldn't be resuscitated, and 1 is basically disabled. Only Wang Su is fine. Sigh for dead and 1 disabled. I really can't suppress such a case. Wang Su will definitely be sentenced for attempted murder with a gun. But we can reduce his sentence by a few years, because he didn't cause any substantial harm, wasn't the mastermind, and had the intention to report to the police. Anyway, it should be at least 5 years. I'm telling you, so you should be mentally prepared. When the time comes, you may have to testify in court secretly. As for when he's in prison, I'll find someone to take care of him, and not let him be bullied." Lu Cheng's heart wasn't heavy. After Yenjika's analysis, this was a predictable outcome. He said sincerely, "This is nothing. Wang Su is only 19 years old. If he behaves well in prison, and his sentence is reduced, he'll only be 22 or 23 years old when he comes out. He still has a long life ahead of him. It's better than dying on the spot." He quietly changed the way he addressed him. Director Xing laughed and said, "I'm relieved that you can think it through. Well, we just carried out a special anti-gang operation and arrested Jian Laosan and Zhang Mingle's left and right men. Zhang Mingle escaped by himself, but he won't be able to come back to Xioshan in the future. No one will harass you and your family because of this. Lu, as an elder, I have to say one more thing. The underworld is not something to be seen in public. Even if they are really capable, they are just the dogs of the big shots. They will do as they are ordered. Don't be envious of them just because they are powerful and domineering. Uncle Xing, don't worry. I have a bright future ahead of me. I won't walk this path that is destined to be hopeless." Lu Qing answered without hesitation. He vaguely felt that Director Xing's attitude had changed. In the past, he always talked about his master, but now he cared more about his own appearance. Seizing this opportunity, he smiled and said, "Uncle Xing, when are you free? I want to visit you for a new year." Director Xing immediately let out a hearty laugh. "Sure. I'm on duty on the 2nd and 3rd day of the new year. After that, I have to visit relatives. How about the 7th day of the new year? I'll be here the whole day. You can come at any time. My address is 9th floor, Unit 2, Building 3, Mingshan Community, number 9 South Shuiyuan Street." After hanging up the phone, Lu Qing pulled the curtain of the room that he had forgotten to open. The dark clouds outside had dispersed and the warm winter sun shone in. Rays of brilliant sunlight shone in and lit up the whole room. This was a bright world. Chapter 96. After confirming the time to visit Director Xing's home, Lu Qing sent a message to Yenjika on QQ. He didn't use a cheeky emoji, because he hadn't completely calmed down yet. "Coach Yen, Director Xing just called me and told me about Wang Su's sentence. I took the opportunity to mention that I wanted to visit him, and he agreed. It's set on the 7th. What small gift do you think I should bring?" Since the Yen family was on good terms with Director Xing, they definitely knew his preferences. You asked the right person, Yenjika said with a cheeky smile. Uncle Xing is from Ningxue, and he loves two things the most. One is the original proof wine from Ningxue Winery, and the other is Ningxue green tea, especially Maojian green tea. You can try and see if you can't get them. If you can't, you can get the highest grade Ningxue Dakuan green tea. He won't care much about what you give him. The highest grade Ningxue Daku is only a few dozen yuan. Not Maojian green tea. I think it's about the same. In total, I can get it for about 100 yuan. I'm a little nervous, Lu Qing said. His mother was from Ningxue County in Xiushan City. His father and grandfather all loved Ningxue Dakuan green tea, so he knew the price. Yenjika said with a smile. That's why it's called a small gift. Listen to me and you can't go wrong. Okay, I'll go east if Coach Yin tells me to. Lu Qing expressed his loyalty and planned to try and see if he could get the original proof wine and Maojian green tea. Well, Director Xing is in charge of martial arts affairs. He should be a master himself, right? It seems that he doesn't practice drunken boxing. Aren't you afraid that drinking will affect your reaction? Yenjika paused for a while before replying. Phew, my cousin's food is getting worse and worse. Bad review. Uncle Xing, he only drinks 2 cups of wine at dinner every day as a pastime. He's also a professional 6th pin dance stage master and has a strong control of his body. He's not afraid that it will affect anything. Lu Cheng was waiting to ask Director Xing about his kung fu skills so that they could have a conversation. Otherwise, they would have nothing to talk about because they were not familiar with each other. Yenjika added, Uncle Xing's daughter, Sister Jingjing, should also be there when you go to pay your New Year's greetings. You have to watch what you say. Don't ever mention words like hooligan, gangster, or pervert. Why? Lu Cheng was at a loss. Did he need to emphasize this? Yenjika rolled her eyes and said, This is a secret. Don't ask. Lu Qing scratched his head and had to suppress his curiosity. He first asked Director Xing about the golden jade body and the modern style of Xingyi. Then he stood in Yenjika's position and criticized her cousin's dishes. While he was talking, he suddenly felt a little confused. Even Yenjika, who had communicated with him the most, was surprised that he could defeat that dangerous professional 9th pin fighter. Why did Master look so normal and not have any emotional fluctuation? Even if he knew that she had awakened a superpower, shouldn't he at least give her some reaction? He was not like this at the Martial Sage Candidate Challenge tournament. Does he really believe in my strength that much? In a Mediterranean-style house, Geyser pressed his chest and walked to the wine cabinet. He opened the door, took out a bottle of unlabeled wine, and poured himself a glass. Dad, why are you drinking again? A voice came from afar. They could only hear the voice but not see the person. It was as if they could grasp the situation here even from afar. The corner of Geyser's mouth twitched. Calm down, calm down. What's there to be surprised about? The voice was like ice beads hitting a jade plate, but it also showed a bit of maturity carved by time. My stupid apprentice overestimated himself and fought against a 9th pin fighter of the dark sect. He's as impulsive as I was when I was young. Geyser narrowed his eyes and sniffed the wine intoxicated. The voice was confused. Didn't you say that junior brother only had the strength of an amateur 1st pin fighter? A 9th pin fighter of the dark sect is not the kind without inheritance. The secret method of spiritual aura is very effective at this stage. Is it because he's in danger that you're frightened? Childish. Naive. Why would I be frightened by this? Geyser curled his lips. He stopped the opponent from killing and killed him in a fight of life and death. He killed the opponent? His superpower of fire hasn't reached this level, has it? The voice was surprised. Geyser took the opportunity to drink the wine in his glass. He smacked his lips and said, See, you're shocked too, aren't you? I almost couldn't maintain my dignity and composure as a master. Luckily, I managed to hold it in. I guess he's met this 9th pin fighter before and is on guard against the secret method of spiritual aura. Otherwise, it's impossible. The voice said with certainty. I thought so too. Geyser wiped his white hair. I'm always shocked by this stupid apprentice. According to the custom in Xiushan, relatives were not allowed to visit on the first day of the new year. Lu Qing lay on the bed for a while, and then heard his mother calling for lunch. After leaving the house, he sat across from his father Lu Jisheng. Before he could open his mouth, he saw his mother Qi Fong sneakily whisper, "Old Wang's son was arrested." He even asked little Luo to pack his clothes and send them to the police station. Luo was Wang Su's mother, Luo Aijin, 2 years younger than Qi Fong. "Mom, haven't you been cooking in the kitchen? How did you know this gossip?" Lu Qing looked at his mother as if she was a god. "Where did you hear this rumor from? You haven't been out today." Lu Jisheng was also surprised. Qi Fong rolled her eyes at him. "Don't you know how to use your phone?" "Of course, someone called me to talk about this." Lu Qing roughly understood why the gossips in the community spread so quickly. He felt a lingering fear. If he was detained, the whole community would know about it after the investigation. At that time, he could imagine how his parents would feel. Think more about your family when you're impulsive. "Old Wang's son was really caught?" Lu Jisheng asked with concern. "Yes. It said that he committed a big crime, and the police came to inform him personally. He might be sentenced to more than 10 years in prison, and his life will be ruined." Qi Fong sighed and turned to glare at Lu Cheng. "See, learn martial arts. Don't be so competitive. Don't get in touch with those gangsters." "Mom, don't worry. I'll remember this lesson." Lu Cheng took a deep breath. He engraved this lesson in his heart and remembered the lingering fear to prevent himself from doing such stupid things in the future. Lu Jisheng sighed. "Old Wang has a hard life, but his son is just a gangster. There must be a mastermind behind this, so the sentence may not be so heavy. If he behaves better and strives for a reduced sentence, he may be out in a few years. When he's in his 20s, he can start over. You bookworm, you'll know when you know more about the community. People with criminal records are discriminated against. It'll be difficult for you to find a good wife in the future." Qi Fong also sighed. After all, she had known old Wang's family for almost 20 years. They were neighbors. While eating, they felt sorry for Wang Su and the Wang family. Lu Qing didn't interrupt and listened quietly. He felt that every word they said hit his heart, making him full of guilt and regret. Due to the other party's criminal record, the other party's performance, and the scene at that time, he did not blame himself for killing the other party. Although the loss of a life shocked him, it was not a person he knew, so it was not that strong. Therefore, he appeared to be relatively calm and did not have too obvious post-traumatic stress. However, the possible consequences of the whole thing were constantly beating him, continuously beating him, making him completely reflect on himself and gradually lose his reckless impulse. This might be the change in his state of mind caused by this incident. It was the necessary training in martial arts that Yenjika's grandpa said. In the future, he would plan before acting. A gentleman wouldn't stand under a collapsing wall. Not for anything else, but for too many ties. "Do you understand, Cheng?" Qi Fong's voice came into his ears. Lu Cheng was in a trance and reflecting on himself, so he didn't pay attention to their conversation. Now he was confused. "Huh, what are you thinking about?" Qi Fong said impatiently. "I say, you can learn martial arts, but don't break the rules with martial arts like those on TV. Your dad and I are in our 40s and have lived for more than half of our lives. We can't bear any more torment." "Okay." Lu Qing nodded hard. On the wet ground, the man in black exercise clothes suddenly turned into a giant green-eyed wolf. He bit Lu Qing's throat and sank his teeth deep into it. Lu Qing sat up abruptly with cold sweat all over his forehead. He was still immersed in the fear brought by the nightmare. In the dark, he pressed a button on his phone, and it lit up. He glanced at it and found that it was less than 4 o'clock. There was still a lot of time before morning training. Alas, for a freshman like me, this is an unprecedented bad thing. Even if the haze is gone and the mental trauma is not serious, it will take 2 or 3 days to completely recover. The remaining emotions will be eliminated with time. After a quick meditation and a short rest, Lu Qing got up on time to train. He was sweating, tearing the airflow, and stirring up his whole body. He was full of energy and used his vigorous qi and blood to erode the shadow in his heart. After returning home, he took a shower and tidied up. Then he went out with his parents to his Aunt Chi Yan's house in Ningxue County to celebrate the new year with his grandfather. His grandfather had 2 daughters. The younger one, Chi Yan, was a live-in son-in-law. It was agreed that the children would follow their mother's surname. If there was a second child, they would follow their father's surname. Currently, he had 2 daughters. I'm just about to buy the original proof wine and Maojian green tea from Ningxue Brewery. Lu Qing looked at the scenery outside the car window and thought. However, these 2 things were hard to buy. He had to ask his aunt and uncle to see if they had any connections since they owned a small supermarket. The distance from Xiushan to Ningxue County was not far. If he had a car, he could get to his aunt's house in 40 minutes from the neighborhood where Lu Qing lived. But if he didn't have a car, he had to take a bus to the bus station to buy a ticket. When he got to Ningxue County's bus station, he had to transfer again. All in all, it would take at least 1.5 hours. The scenery flew by. Lu Qing, who was focused on chatting, soon saw the streets of Ningxue County. P.S. I think that a half-grown boy who suddenly had a fortuitous encounter and improved his martial arts so quickly that even his master couldn't predict it and didn't give him the corresponding guidance in time would definitely have problems in his daily life. There would definitely be some bad experiences. Therefore, I wrote very carefully about the change in Lu Qing's state of mind. I finally finished the last stroke of this chapter. I hope everyone can feel it. Chapter 97. You kids nowadays only know how to play with your phones every day. What are you laughing about? His mother, Qi Fong, took the lead and walked to the unit where her sister Qi Yan lived. She nagged at Lu Qing for being reluctant to put down his phone when he was in the car. Lu Qing was carrying alcohol, cigarettes, chicken, fish and other gifts. He didn't dare to talk back and could only laugh dryly. Fortunately, there was a generation gap between him and his mother, so she didn't find out that he was in love with her. As for whether it was a one-sided romance, judging from Yenjika's performance and their interactions during this period, he vaguely felt that it was more than a friend. Whether they were lovers or not was another matter. He should not have any misconception that he was feeling good about himself and made a mistake, which could ruin the good situation. The revolution hasn't succeeded yet. Comrades still need to work hard. You don't understand. Nowadays, the younger generation communicates on the internet, unlike us in the past. Lu Jisheng was also carrying a lot of gifts. Why don't I understand? If I didn't understand, would I only nag? I saw on TV that some parents are so heartless and irresponsible that they send their children to some internet addiction treatment center. Qi Fong rambled on. In the blink of an eye, they came to the 3rd floor and pressed the doorbell. Lu Qing had a very good impression of his aunt's house and the small supermarket that they had developed from a grocery store. He loved to play here when he was a child. Every time he looked pitifully at some snacks, his Aunt Qi Yan, who had a sharp tongue but a soft heart, would give some to him. Because of their poor family background, he rarely had snacks. The door opened and Qi Yan, in a white down jacket, took the gifts from Qi Fong with a smile. She glanced at Lu Qing and teased him. Qing, your mom is willing to let you do heavy work. Qi Yan and Qi Fong looked very similar, but there were almost no crow's feet. She looked like she was in her early 30s instead of her late 40s. She was very good at taking care of herself. I'm not a kid anymore. Of course I have to help carry things. Qi Fong changed her shoes and walked into the house. When they were in middle school and high school, she didn't want Lu Qing to study hard and rarely let him do housework. Even when she visited relatives and friends, she would carry the lightest things. Lu Qing raised the items in his hand and flexed his muscles. He said with a smile, I'm strong now. This is a piece of cake. While talking and laughing, the family of 3 entered the house. They saw Lu Qing's grandparents and Uncle Chen Wenghua. Grandpa, Grandma, Uncle. Lu Qing greeted them one by one, feeling a little regretful that he couldn't spend the new year at his grandfather's house. Although her uncle was considered a live-in son-in-law, her grandparents were only in their 60s. Their bodies were strong, and their spirits were high. They still lived in their hometown in the countryside, tending to a few acres of land and raising a few chickens. They were reluctant to leave the familiar environment and the relatives and neighbors that they had lived with for many years. There was a small river at the entrance. The deepest part of the river was only a little above the ankle. If you were lucky, you could really catch small fish. Further up, there was a reservoir where you could fish. Along the mountain road, there was land contracted by his relatives. There were all kinds of fruit trees planted there. In the ditch beside, tadpoles were looking for their mothers. Every year during the holidays, Lu Cheng would go there to play, like a wild horse. 2. Lu Cheng's grandpa's face was ruddy. He said with vigor, "Why didn't you come here for a few days before the new year? Come and sit down. There are sunflower seeds, peanuts, and soft candy. Choose what you like." Lu Cheng wanted to say that he didn't like peanuts, soft candy, or sunflower seeds. But when he saw the eager and enthusiastic eyes of his grandparents, he swallowed the words back down and ate a soft candy. Maybe because he was the first child of his generation, his grandparents doted on him very much. As for her grandfather, other than not having studied much, he was an all-rounder. The furniture here, the furniture in the old house in the countryside, were all made by him. Furthermore, he was a good cook. He could farm, raise chickens, fish, and catch birds. He was her idol when she was young. The family sat down and talked about Lu Cheng's college life for a long time. After a while, they moved on to other topics to let Lu Cheng have some time. "How are Feifei and Xiao Xiao?" he asked his two cousins. The two girls were still in junior high school. One was in her 3rd year, and the other was in her 1st year. The older one was called Qi Yunfei, and the younger one was called Chen Xiao Xiao. Aunt Qi Yin said angrily, "I don't know where they went so early in the morning. Wait until noon. If they don't come back for lunch, I'll break their legs." Lu Cheng changed the topic. "Aunt, where can I buy the original proof wine and Maojian green tea from Ningshui Brewery? Don't we have them in our supermarket?" Uncle Chen Wenghua interrupted in confusion. He and Lu Cheng's grandpa lived in the same village. He liked Qi Yin since he was a child. Because he had an elder brother, he moved his in-laws by being a live-in son-in-law. He was diligent and worked hard in the county with Qi Yin for many years. He worked in the grocery store, and from the grocery store to the small supermarket. He bought a house and paid off the loan. Lu Cheng couldn't help but laugh. "Uncle, I know what the original proof wine and Maojian green tea in your supermarket are. No one will believe you just because of the price." Chen Wenghua laughed. "Don't look down on them. The original proof wine in our supermarket is also from Ningshui Brewery. Together with the sorghum from the farmers nearby, it tastes very good. Why are you asking about these two? They are not sold very often. The ones in the market are either fake or shoddy. You can't get the real one without some connections." Qi Yin asked in confusion. Lu Jisheng and Qi Fang also looked at their son in surprise. They didn't understand why he asked this. Lu Cheng said half-truthfully, "I have a friend who is going to pay a New Year's visit to his elder brother. His elder brother is from Ningshui and only likes the original proof wine and Maojian green tea from Ningshui Brewery. He heard that I'm going back to Ningshui, so he asked me to ask if I can buy it." If he directly mentioned Director Xing, wouldn't he be exposing his own shortcomings and frightening his parents? If he doesn't have any connections, we can only rely on luck. And now it's the new year. Alas, Qi Yin was in a dilemma. At this time, Lu Cheng's grandpa Qi Jiu said, "Yan, isn't Deng Laosan well-connected and popular? He always praises himself for his connections. Why don't you ask him for Cheng?" "Bah, that Deng Laosan is so arrogant. Every time he sees him, he looks like he wants to beat him up. And he speaks in a sarcastic tone. Why would I go to him for no reason?" Qi Yin said grumpily. Lu Cheng also smiled and said, "Don't bother. Anyway, it's just a friend who asked me to ask. It doesn't matter if I can't buy it. Would it kill you to ask him for Cheng?" Lu Cheng's grandmother Kong Meijin gently pinched Qi Yin. Okay, I'll ask. Cheng, come with me. It's on the 2nd floor." Qi Yin curled her lips and said, "Auntie is a classic example of a sharp tongue but a soft heart." Lu Cheng secretly laughed and stood up, following behind her. After a few steps, the two quickly went down the stairs and arrived at the door of Deng Laosan's house. Qi Yan pressed the doorbell and said angrily, Chung, bear with it later. Deng Laosan's words are not pleasant to hear. Just treat it as a mad dog barking at you. Okay. After what happened yesterday, Lu Qing felt that most of his rashness and impulsiveness had been worn away. After a short while the dark red door opened. A man with thinning hair said, Qi Yan, you don't come here for no reason. What can I do for you? He combed one side of his hair to the other side to cover the blankness in the middle. With several pimples on his face, he seemed to be quite angry. Deng Laosan, didn't you say that you have a wide network? Can you get the original proof wine and Maojian green tea from Ningxue Brewery? Qi Yan asked directly. Deng Laosan looked her and Lu Qing up and down and laughed. You also want to buy these two things? Is it necessary? Do your friends and relatives need to give you these two things? Why do you have to pretend to be rich? It's a waste of money and connections. I'm just asking if you can buy them. Do you have connections? Qi Yan took a deep breath and said. Lu Qing felt that his aunt was about to explode. He pulled her and said with a smile, We're asking for someone else. Deng the Third didn't let them in. He just stood at the door and said, Then I'll tell you the truth. I can get them, but I can't get them for you. These two things don't look expensive, but they are priceless. It depends on connections. Do you understand? Connections? With my connections, I can only get a limited amount of them. I don't even think it's enough for me to do favors. What kind of relationship do you have with me? How much money can you give me? Why should I give you a bargain? Fine. Fine. Qi Yan was furious. Why do you have to say such harsh words? If Lu Qing didn't stop her, she might have quarreled with him. Lu Qing didn't want to buy them from Deng Laosan at a high price, which went against the purpose of the small gift. When they got home, Qi Yan complained in front of her mother, saying that Deng Laosan had ulcers on his head and pus on his feet. Auntie has no connections. I don't know many people in Ningxue. Who can I ask for help? Can I just buy ordinary Ningxue daku and green tea? Lu Qing murmured in his heart while listening to them. If Wang Su was still here, it wouldn't be difficult to get the original proof wine. Except for Yanjika, who was in Jiangnan, Tao Xiaofei, Qin Rui, and Dai Linfeng were the only ones who could get it. Lu Qing was still a student, so his social circle was dominated by his classmates. He went to the balcony, opened his contact list, and called Tao Xiaofei. After a long ring, Tao Xiaofei said with a heavy nasal voice and sleepy voice, Brother Lu, what's the matter? You're still in bed. Lu Qing greeted him first. Tao Xiaofei smiled bitterly. I went to bed at 6. You're so young. You're not afraid of your health. Lu Qing joked and changed the topic. Do you know where I can buy the original proof wine and Maojian green tea from Ningxue Brewery? Tao Xiaofei felt strange. Brother Lu, why do you ask this? I've troubled Director Xing with the previous matter. I've made an appointment to visit him and want to get something he likes. Lu Qing said honestly. Tao Xiaofei laughed. Brother Lu, you've asked the right person. Wait, I'll bring it to you directly. Are 2 bottles and 2 boxes enough? Yes. I'll give you the money. Lu Qing said happily. We're so close that we don't need to talk about money. Hee, to tell you the truth, my dad is also into this kind of stuff. I'm going to smuggle some to you. Anyway, he's not bad. I can get it later. Tao Xiaofei grinned. Lu Qing couldn't help but laugh. Aren't you afraid that Uncle Tao will beat you? No, he's thick-skinned. And he wants to beat me every day. Tao Xiaofei said this like a normal teenager instead of a gangster who spent a lot of time in bars. By the way, Brother Lu, where are you? I'll bring it to you directly. No, I'm in Ningxue. You can give it to me before the 7th. Lu Qing smiled. Tao Xiaofei said, Then I'll bring it to you. It'll only take a few minutes. My mom is going to spend the winter in South Sea. I'm not sure when I'll leave Xiushan. After telling him the address, Lu Qing went back to the living room and chatted with his grandparents and aunts. About 40 minutes later, his phone rang. Tao Xiaofei had arrived. While talking on the phone, Lu Qing walked out of the building and saw the BMW 7 Series at the gate of the community. Brother Lu. Tao Xiaofei got out of the car and gave him a bag with 2 bottles of original proof wine and 2 boxes of Maojian green tea. The original proof wine was simply packaged like the one produced in the small workshop next door. Although it's ugly, the simpler the packaging the better it is, Tao Xiaofei said with a smile. Lu Qing looked at it and held it in his hand. He said sincerely, "Sorry to trouble you." "It's no trouble at all," Tao Xiaofei said straightforwardly. "We're old classmates." At this point he smacked his lips. "I'm not asking you to help me fight. After seeing that scene yesterday, I was really shocked. I don't like to dance and seek excitement like I used to. I've become a king good guy in the bar. Last night, someone stole the girl I had my eyes on, but I didn't say anything. Anyway, it's not my wife or girlfriend. Do you think there's a shortage of girls in the bar? Why do you have to be angry and fight for this?" Lu Qing looked at him in surprise. "It's good that you have this awareness. You have money and connections. If you lose yourself because of a girl in the bar, you'll be wronged. Who can you reason with then?" Tao Xiaofei nodded solemnly. "Living is the most important thing. You can only enjoy life when you're alive." "Haha, you look like an old man," Lu Qing joked. Tao Xiaofei returned to normal and said with a smile, "Brother Lu, I'm not asking you for anything. With your current strength and age, you may become a famous master on TV in the future. At that time, don't pretend you don't know me. I can brag to my friends. Look, Hero Lu and I had barbecue together last night. We've been friends since childhood." "No problem. Haha, you're so nice," Lu Qing agreed with a smile. Watching Tao Xiaofei drive away, he told Yanjika about it with a smile. Then he carried the things and went back to his aunt's house. When he was about to reach the door, he heard Ding the Third's voice from inside. "Yes or no? Tell me. You're lucky. I have a friend who hasn't sent out a gift yet. I want to convert it into money." A bottle of original proof wine is 800 yuan. A box of Maojian green tea is 1,200 yuan. So the total is 2,000 yuan. Do you want it or not? Just tell me. I'm telling you, it's more expensive than normal, but I promise it's real. You won't get it again if you miss it. What's your family's connection? You can't get it in your life without luck. Lu Qing couldn't help laughing. He pushed open the half-closed door and said, "No need. I've got it. Got it." Qi Fong, Qi Yan, and the others all looked at him in surprise. Cheng just answered a phone call and went out for 10 minutes. How could he get it? "You got it. Is it fake?" Deng the Third's face darkened. He walked to Lu Cheng and took the bag recklessly. He rummaged through it carefully and then fell into silence. After a while he asked in confusion, "How much did you pay for it?" "It's real, but don't waste your money." Lu Qing smiled and said, "I didn't. Someone gave it to me." Chapter 98. A Gift. Deng the Third opened his mouth and raised his voice a lot. Before Lu Qing could answer, his face reddened like the cloth worn by the bullfighters on TV. It was as if blood was about to drip out of his face. He murmured as if he wanted to ask for clarification, but couldn't. Finally he laughed and said, "It's good that you have it." As he spoke, he put down the bag and quickly rushed to the door. He didn't pay attention and tripped over the threshold. He stumbled a few steps and almost fell into the opposite door. Then, without looking back, he hurriedly went downstairs. The living room of Qi Yan's house was quiet. After a few seconds, Lu Cheng's mother asked in confusion, "Cheng, who gave it to you?" What kind of social connections could a kid who had just entered college have? How could he find a way to get the original proof spirit and Maojian green tea from Ningshui Daku for free? As a mother, she felt that she had to figure it out, in case her son was cheated by others. Lu Cheng explained with a smile. "Mom, do you remember Tao Xiaofei? I sat in front of him for a long time in high school. You should have seen his mom or dad at the parent-teacher conference, right?" Xiaoshan No. 1 Middle School's tradition was to arrange the parents according to the student's original position during the parent-teacher conference. "Yes, his mom always praised you for being good at studying and steady. She wanted to use you as a role model for Tao Xiaofei." Qi Fong immediately recalled. His mom was really dressed like a jewel. Lu Jisheng couldn't help but laugh. "Oh, you learned to use idioms?" Jewel is really good, really good. Qi Fong stared at him. I don't dare to compare myself with a great intellectual. But since an illiterate like me can learn to use idioms, shouldn't you, a great intellectual, learn to cook? I'll leave it to you in the future. Lu Jixing laughed and didn't answer. He looked at Lu Cheng and asked, Tao Xiaofei gave it to you? Yes, I asked him with the intention of giving it a try. He said he had a lot of them at home, so he gave me some. Lu Qing turned back and closed the door. You guys are quite close. He even gave it to you from afar. Qi Yin interrupted. Chen Wengue said thoughtfully, the Tao family's background isn't bad. Not bad, not bad. Lu Qing didn't know whether he was answering his aunt or his uncle. Suddenly, Qi Yin clapped her hands together and clapped. She said excitedly, Cheng, it's only been a while since we last met. You've grown so much. Haha, this is the first time I've seen third brother Dang so embarrassed and embarrassed. Io, what do you mean by our family's connections? If you don't rely on luck, you won't be able to get it in this lifetime? Then I gave him 2 bottles and 2 boxes, and they were all free gifts. She seemed to have vented the resentment in her chest. Qi Fong chimed in. I wanted to beat that Ding the third just now. Her eyebrows and eyes were full of joy. She was immersed in the gratification of her son's ability. The problem that the adults couldn't solve was solved with just a phone call. Since your classmate said he would give it to you, we can't just take it for free, Lu Jixing said after pondering for a while. Lu Qing said with a smile, Dad, don't worry. I know what I'm doing. Qi Jiayu was about to praise him when he suddenly heard the sound of the key turning. He saw the door open and 2 little girls bouncing in. He laughed and said, Fei Fei Xiao Xiao, if you come back a little later, your mom will break your legs. My mom? She's just joking. Qi Yunfei wrinkled her nose and said disdainfully. Qi Yan's face darkened. I'm just joking? You haven't been beaten for a long time. Are you itching for a beating? Mom, I won't do it again. Qi Yunfei suddenly became a lackey. Her attitude changed so fast that Lu Cheng was amazed. His 2 cousins had been lively and mischievous since they were young. The effect of the devil incarnate plus the devil incarnate was definitely more than 1 + 1. Moreover, they could be considered as the most beautiful among his siblings. Although they were not very beautiful, in the words of the Ningshui dialect, they were little good, little good. They looked cute and comfortable. Brother Lu Cheng, when did you arrive? While her sister was flattering her mother, Chen Xiaoxiao looked at Lu Cheng with a smile. She looked very similar to her sister, Qi Yunfei, especially when both of them had air bangs. However, the baby fat on her face was still there, and her eyes were a little bigger. She was less beautiful but more cute. We arrived a long time ago, Lu Qing said in an exaggerated and heavy tone. After exchanging a few pleasantries, the 2 girls went back to their rooms to tidy up and prepare for lunch. Lu Qing followed them into Qi Yunfei's boudoir and closed the door with his heel. He crossed his arms in front of his chest and said with a smirk, Tell me the truth. You ran out early in the morning on the 2nd day of the new year. There must be something wrong. Chen Xiaoxiao pretended to shiver. Brother Lu Cheng, it has nothing to do with me. I'm just a cover. Sister Fei Fei went on a date. Wow, you're in love at such a young age. Lu Qing looked at Qi Yunfei in surprise and laughed. Qi Yunfei first glanced at Chen Xiaoxiao. Traitor. Then she looked at Lu Cheng and made a face. I'm 15 years old, and in my 3rd year of middle school. What kind of love is this? It's useless to tell me. You have to tell your mother. Lu Cheng raised his eyebrows. Qi Yunfei's face turned pale. Brother Lu Cheng, you're not going to betray me, are you? It depends on your performance. If you don't get into Xiushan No. 1 middle school, or Ningshui No. 2 middle school, you know. Lu Qing put on a look of indifference. Seeing his exaggerated performance, Qi Yunfei was relieved. Don't just talk about me. Brother Lu Cheng, did you have a girlfriend in college? Almost. Lu Cheng stretched out his right hand and pinched the top joint of his little finger with his thumb. Oh. The 2 girls were full of gossip. That is to say, you're going to fall in love? What kind of girl is she? I'll tell you when I get her. Lu Qing didn't want to give himself bad news. Because of his 2 lively and likable cousins, this day was full of laughter. After dinner, Qi Jiayu and Qi Yan tried to persuade Lu Cheng and his family to stay for one night and go back the next day. Chen Xiaoxiao gave up her room and slept with her sister. Lu Cheng's parents lived with her, and Lu Cheng became the head of the department, guarding the living room. Because Qi Fang mentioned that Lu Cheng had to get up early to exercise, he went to bed at 10:30 every day. After 10 o'clock, the others didn't watch TV and went back to their rooms. Late at night, Lu Cheng logged out of QQ and went to sleep. When he was sleeping soundly, he suddenly felt the vibration of his phone and woke up from the dreamless world. It was Yenjika. The time was exactly midnight. Why did she suddenly call me? Lu Cheng was surprised, confused, worried, and nervous. He quickly picked up the phone and chose to answer. Hello, Cheng? Yenjika's familiar voice came with a smile. Yes, it's me. Lu Cheng was still a little confused. Yenjika chuckled. Cheng, happy birthday. Happy birthday? Lu Cheng just woke up and remembered that it was his birthday after midnight. It was February 2nd on the Gregorian calendar. Haha, if you didn't give me this number, I would have forgotten it myself. Lu Cheng was overjoyed and beamed. His voice unconsciously became louder and reverberated in the quiet living room. Yenjika waited until midnight just to say happy birthday to me. I'm so happy. She was adjusting her biological clock to get used to waking up early to exercise. Without me, no one will celebrate your birthday for you? Yenjika asked with a smile. Lu Cheng was afraid that he would wake others up, so he put on his clothes with difficulty while holding his phone. He groped for the balcony. I haven't officially celebrated my birthday since elementary school, but my parents will remember to cook me a bowl of longevity noodles. His family was poor in middle school, so he didn't have the money to buy a birthday cake. He was used to it in high school and felt that it was childish to ask for a birthday celebration. As soon as he opened the balcony door, Lu Cheng saw a shadow squatting in the corner. He immediately shouted in a low voice, Who is it? The shadow was scared and jumped up. She turned around and saw Lu Cheng. She patted her chest and said, Brother Lu Cheng, you scared me to death. The shadow was Qi Yunfei, his cousin in the 3rd year of middle school. She was wearing pajamas with rabbit ears and a small quilted jacket. She was trembling while holding her phone. You scared me too. I thought there was a thief. Lu Cheng didn't cover the receiver and said directly. Qi Yunfei exhaled and said, Is there a thief as cute as me? My boyfriend called, and I was afraid to wake Xiaoxiao up, so I came out to the balcony to talk. She looked at Lu Cheng and moved her eyebrows. She snickered. It seems that you are also a thief. Yeah. Lu Cheng found it funny. What a coincidence. After that, they tacitly turned their backs and each occupied a corner of the balcony to talk on the phone. What happened just now? Yenjika asked curiously. Lu Cheng said with a smile. I was at my aunt's house. I was afraid to wake the people in the room, so I ran out to the balcony to talk on the phone. I bumped into my cousin. Puff, what was she doing on the balcony in the middle of the night? Yenjika laughed. Lu Cheng said with a smile. Puppy love. She was talking on the phone with her boyfriend. After that, he turned around and saw Qi Yunfei turn her head and stare at him. It seemed that she was saying, You are such a big mouth. You forget your sister when you see a girl. You are not loyal. Lu Cheng didn't care and pretended not to see. After chatting with Yenjika for a few minutes, he was afraid that he would delay her getting up early tomorrow. So he said, Can I ask for a birthday present? You can ask. It's up to me whether I approve or not. Yenjika answered with a smile. Lu Cheng seemed to be able to imagine her smile. Quietly turning on the recording function, Lu Cheng said excitedly, Sing a birthday song for me. Humph, for the sake of your birthday. Yenjika said proudly and gently hummed the song. Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. Well, what do you wish for? Hurry up and make a wish. Lu Cheng's heart was full of joy. After thinking for a while, he hinted. As the old saying goes, I only wish that there will be a day every year. You will be every year. You will be every year. That's a good wish. Yenjika's voice had a trace of a smile. Then she said quickly, I'm going to bed. You should hurry up and get up early tomorrow. Good night. Good night. Seeing that her attitude was not cold, Lu Qing felt good about himself again. After hanging up the phone, he was so happy that he wanted to scream. But with his cousin Qi Yunfei behind him, he couldn't forget himself and lose his dignity as a brother. Forcing himself to hold back, he went back to the living room and waved his arms quietly. The beginning of 19 years was so beautiful. After doing all this, he guiltily turned his head to look at the balcony. He saw Qi Yunfei was also secretly looking at him with one hand tightly covering her cheek. She also forgot herself. They looked at each other and smiled. With tacit understanding, they each made a gesture of encouragement to the other. In the next few days, Lu Qing fully enjoyed his holiday life. After getting up early to practice, he didn't have to be busy with classes and computer rooms. He didn't have to split his time in half. Besides having fun with his family and relatives, he also chatted with Yenjika, called her and video called her. In his spare time, he read novels, surfed the internet, mingled in different groups, watched his own private forum, or found Jiang Fei and Cheng Chili to play games and guide them to strengthen their bodies. His life was so comfortable that his body and mind were relaxed. The fight on the morning of the first day of the new year seemed to have happened several years ago. It no longer bothered him in his dreams. Time flew. Soon it was the 7th day of the new year. It was time to visit Director Xing. Chapter 99. Before he left, Lu Qing called Director Xing again to confirm. This was a question of courtesy. Even though Director Xing had said that he could come at any time on the 7th day of the new year, he couldn't just walk in like that. What if Director Xing hadn't woken up yet? What if Director Xing was entertaining an important guest? Lu, when are you coming? Director Xing's hearty voice came into Lu Qing's ears as soon as the call connected. Lu Qing smiled and said, I'm just about to leave. I was worried that you might have other guests, so I called to ask. Haha, I do have other guests, but they'll leave soon. Feel free to come over. I'll let the guard know. Director Xing replied in a relaxed tone. Okay. Lu Qing hung up the phone and booked a cab. Carrying the bag of wine and tea, he went downstairs unhurriedly. He was in a strange mood. This was the first time he paid a New Year's greeting as an individual. It was as if he had stepped into society in advance and become an adult. In less than 20 minutes, he arrived at Mingshan Community on South Shuyuan Street. After giving his name, he easily passed through the security and arrived at Unit 2, Block 3, where Director Xing lived. There was a one-staircase design here. Lu Qing didn't need to identify when he got out of the elevator. He went straight to the copper-clad door and rang the doorbell. Ding-dong sounds echoed, and the door was quickly opened. A young man walked out with half of his body and said with a smile, Director Xing, please wait. There are other guests. Xing Chenggu laughed heartily and said, Be careful on your way back. Do your job well when you get back. You need to make new progress in the new year. After that, he turned to Lu Qing and said, Come in. Make yourself at home. The young man looked at Lu Qing curiously, but didn't say anything. He turned and walked to the elevator. After entering the house and changing his shoes, Lu Qing noticed that Director Xing was quite a burly man. Even in casual home clothes, he couldn't hide his strong and capable temperament. Damn! I was so shocked that I didn't pay much attention to what kind of person Director Xing was. If I met him on the street, I probably wouldn't recognize him. Lu Qing wiped away the non-existent cold sweat and handed over the bag in his hand. Uncle Xing, Happy New Year. Good luck. You're just a junior. Why are you bringing gifts? I'm still wondering if I should give you your lucky money. Xing Chenggu joked and accepted the gift without hesitation. He opened it and frowned slightly. Ningshui Winery's original proof spirit and Maojian green tea? You're just a kid. Why do you have to be so grand? You must have spent a lot of money, right? I didn't spend any money. I happen to have money at home, so I thought I'd offer it to you. Lu Qing put away the unfamiliarity he felt when he just walked in and answered with a smile. Xing Chengwu's brows smoothed out as he laughed. Since you didn't spend any money, I'll accept it. Not bad, you're offering Buddha with borrowed flowers. This is exactly what I want. I don't have many hobbies in my life, But I like these too. This is because an expert gave me pointers. Lu Cheng made a joke. Xing Chenggu put the bag on the coffee table and gestured for Lu Cheng to sit down. He asked in confusion, Master? Lu Cheng smiled and said, Yin Jika and I were classmates. She told me that you like to drink a cup of tea during the day and a bottle of wine at night. Xing Chenggu was pleasantly surprised. You and Young Ko are classmates? Why didn't you tell me earlier? You didn't have to find me through your master. Haha. It seems that we're fated to meet. Then I won't stand on ceremony and treat you as my nephew. Didn't I call you Uncle Xing long ago? Lu Cheng said humorously. Yinjika told me that you're good at gold and jade body and modern Xingyi. He planned to leave after a few words. Otherwise he would feel uncomfortable. After all, he wasn't very familiar with Director Xing. If he shamelessly stayed, it would only make them speechless. Yeah, Xing Chenggu said proudly. If it weren't for my gold and jade body, how could I sit and talk to you like this? I would either be paralyzed or honorably sacrificed. These words tickled his itch, and he started talking nonstop. I cultivated step by step in a proper martial arts school, and finally entered the police academy. As far as our work is concerned, this kind of physical hard body skill is the most suitable. Unlike you guys, who have referees and supervisors watching over you when you fight in the arena. If we really encounter criminals with guns or criminals with real kung fu, we can only fight with our lives on the line. Although the golden jade body can't protect us from gunshots, it can at least turn a serious injury into a minor one while avoiding the vital parts. This kind of kung fu has saved countless police officers. Lu Cheng was inexperienced. It was the first time he heard about this kind of thing. He listened with great interest and echoed from time to time. It seems that Director Xing doesn't belong to the big forces. He's a martial artist trained by the country. He thought thoughtfully. While Director Xing was talking, the bedroom door creaked open. A tall, middle-aged woman with her hair tied up in a bun came out. She had delicate features and slender legs. She said coquettishly, Dad, I'm going shopping with Mom. As long as you're at home, we won't have a peaceful new year. Several groups of people will come in an hour. Just as she finished speaking, she suddenly noticed a strange man. Her expression immediately sank and became as cold as ice, keeping people thousands of miles away. Lu Cheng was too embarrassed to sit. He stood up with Director Xing and listened to Director Xing's introduction. Jingjing, this is Young Ke's classmate, the young master I mentioned last time, Lu Cheng. Lu Cheng, this is my daughter, Xing Jingjing. She's 2 years older than Young Ke, but only 1 year older than you. She's studying at Huahai University. She and Young Ke are best friends. Director Xing said with a smile. This is my wife. You can call her Auntie Ding. Hello, Auntie Ding. Hello, senior sister. Lu Cheng didn't know how to address Xing Jingjing, so he just called her senior sister. Because of Yenjika's warning in advance, he was a little afraid of Xing Jingjing and always worried that he would say something wrong to offend her. I heard old Xing mention you. You're a young talent with extraordinary skills. Auntie Ding said with a smile. You're Young Ke's classmate. Are you still studying? Where are you studying at? Songqing University. I'm Yenjika's classmate. Lu Cheng didn't hide it. Xing Jingjing could ask Yenjika about this kind of thing. Auntie Ding wanted to say something more, but Xing Jingjing pulled her aside. Her action was obvious and her attitude was impatient. She seemed to be very impatient to be in the same enclosed space with Lu Cheng. You and old Xing have a good chat. We're going shopping. Auntie Ding frowned slightly and then said calmly. Lu Cheng was surprised by Xing Jingjing's behavior. He didn't say much and just said a few words out of courtesy. He didn't say anything like hooligan or pervert. Why did Xing Jingjing dislike him, as if he was a cockroach? She didn't even care about the most basic courtesy. Xing Jingjing and Lu Cheng put on knee-high boots and went out. Xing Chenggu saw Lu Cheng's confusion and couldn't help but sigh. He sat down again, opened the bottle of original proof wine, and poured 2 cents into a small teacup on the table. Lu, Uncle Xing is suddenly addicted to alcohol. Do you mind if I drink a few sips? He forced a smile. Lu Cheng hurriedly replied. It's okay. You can do whatever you want. Xing Chenggu drank half a cup in one gulp and closed his eyes, as if he was savoring the mellow and spicy wine. After a long time he said, "Lu, do you know what two kinds of gangsters we're most afraid of?" "No," Lu Qing answered honestly. He didn't understand why Director Xing suddenly asked this. Xing Chenggu smiled bitterly and said, "Actually, we don't have to worry too much about underworld bosses like Zhang Mingle. They are local, and their relatives and friends are all here. They have roots and foundations, and they won't cross the line when doing things. They will have scruples. Unless they are really forced, they won't do anything. And there are also those who are ruthless and like to take risks. For example, Jian Lao III. But generally speaking, they're controllable. If I could contact Jian Lao III in advance on the first day of the new year, and ask him to inform the ninth pin of the dark sect to withdraw in time and leave Xiushan, there wouldn't be such a big case later." After listening to Director Xing's description, Lu Qing said thoughtfully, "Uncle Xing, you're afraid of criminals who cross the border and leave after 1 or 2 cases?" Xing Chenggu nodded slightly and said, "Yes. These criminals are used to roaming around and have no scruples. They dare to commit big cases and are not afraid of future troubles. Take that ninth pin of the dark sect for example. After all, as long as he doesn't get photographed and doesn't leave any obvious traces, once he escapes, it'll be very difficult to find him again. After all, we don't even know who he is, let alone whether he has other criminal records." Speaking of this, he took another sip of wine and looked a little absent-minded. "There's another kind. They're teenagers who have enough ability to cause trouble, but lack family and school education. If they're still under the protection of the law, they're even more daring and dare to cause trouble even under the sky. And their crimes are more on the spur of the moment, unlike vendetta or love killings, which are always foreshadowed. When they encounter this kind of people, even the gods can't guard against them. In order to train their courage, they dare to kill passers-by. After watching a film and wanting to find a girl, they dare to take advantage of the dark to kidnap her on the road." Seeing that Director Xing's expression was not right, Lu Qing suddenly remembered something from the past, something he had talked about with Yenjika. When he was in his second year of high school, there was an attempted rape case on the way home from school. There were various versions of it, scaring the girls. The male students organized a group and volunteered to send some of the female students who didn't live in school home. Xing Jingjing's extreme attitude towards hooligans and perverts. Director Xing's behavior. Could it be that she was the victim? Looking at Director Xing bitterly drinking wine, he suddenly felt some sympathy and pity. As a person who had a say in Xiushan, and as the deputy director of the police station to crack down on crime, when faced with accidents, there were also times when he felt powerless and painful and self-reproachful. He was also a human being. He could also be negligent. He also had pain and sorrow. Xing Chenggu didn't expect Lu Qing to have guessed the whole story. After calming down, he changed the topic and said with a smile, "Lu, practice martial arts well. You can only protect your family and friends at critical moments. My Jingjing used to hate the police and practicing martial arts because I was not at home for many years. Now she understands. She joined the martial arts club in Huahai University. Maybe you can meet in the National University Martial Arts competition in the future." "Uncle Xing, don't worry. I plan to make martial arts my future," Lu Qing answered sincerely. After chatting for a while he left. Director Xing didn't ask him to stay. In the next few days, Lu Qing left this matter behind and continued his leisurely holiday life. In the blink of an eye, the day of school was approaching. Chapter 100. Thinking of the new martial arts mentioned by Geezer Shi, the upcoming preliminaries, and the fact that he would become one of the pillars of the martial arts club. More importantly, he thought of Yenjika, whom he had not seen for the whole winter vacation. It was the first time that Lu Qing was so eager to start school. A day without seeing each other felt like 3 years. How many days and nights had it been? Even the constant chatting, phone calls, and video calls couldn't compare to having a living girl by his side. He couldn't wait to buy a ticket and get on the train to Songcheng. But before that, He had to wait for a message and confirm a premise. I'm in the dormitory. I'm going to pack now. Yenjika sent an emoji. When did you get on the train? Didn't you book a ticket again? Lucheng was delighted and answered without hesitation. Yes, tonight. I'll be there tomorrow morning. He knew that Yenjika was flying to Songqing today, so he booked the train ticket for tonight. But in case the plane was delayed or cancelled, he was ready to change the ticket at any time. So he didn't tell Yenjika that he had booked a ticket. The action officially started. The action of bringing Xioshan delicacies to his beloved girl. While Yenjika was packing and cleaning the dormitory, he put in his wallet, grabbed his keys, and left the dormitory in a hurry. Hey Chung, are you having dinner at home tonight? His mother Chi Fong looked at his back and shouted. Yes, Lu Qing answered from a distance. He didn't stop and walked to the entrance of the community. It was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. He had to hurry, or the braised quail eggs and steamed beef pies would be gone. A few minutes later, the online taxi arrived. He opened the door and threw himself in, throwing out a sentence. Old Xinhua bookstore. More than 20 minutes later, Lu Qing finally arrived at the entrance of the old Xinhua bookstore. Seeing that the stall selling braised quail eggs was still there, he immediately felt relieved. He took a few big strides forward, glanced at it and blurted out, I'll buy one. It wasn't that he didn't want to bring more, but he had to consider the capacity of the insulated lunch box. Although it was a large one, there were other things, right? The reason why he had waited until the last moment was to ensure that the food would still be in its best condition when it was delivered to Yenjika. It tasted 70 to 80% normal. In order to confirm whether these stores would be open and when they would be sold out, he had checked the time twice and rehearsed the route. If Yenjika had arrived in Songqing 2 hours later today, he would have changed the ticket to tomorrow night. The stall owner glanced at him and muttered, Young man, only one serving? That being said, his hands didn't slow down. He opened the small food bag and filled it to the brim. Lu Qing took the money and ran away, stopping a taxi that had been waiting for him. He shouted without panting, Number 1 middle school's back door. This time he didn't run into a traffic jam. 10 minutes later, he saw the familiar back school gate and snack street. He grabbed the change and walked quickly to the cart selling steamed beef pies. Lu Cheng. Lu Cheng's Lu. Then he carefully recalled Yan's that. And emphasized. Don't put green onions. Okay. The stall owner was a middle-aged man. He poured the top 4 boxes of steamed beef into a basin and skillfully added seasonings. Looking at his movements, Lu Cheng felt like he was back in high school. During the 10-minute break between classes, the back door was closed. He waited for the students to take the money and waved to the stall owner through the iron bars, shouting how many servings he wanted. He only needed to put on the prison uniform to sing Tears Behind Bars loudly. The steamed beef pies in this shop were not only missed by the graduates of the number 1 middle school because of its geographical location, but also its taste was rare. He had tried the steamed beef pies in different famous stores in several places. Although he felt that the beef and the steamed beef were both delicious, the meat was always dead and not lively enough. He wasn't a gourmet. This was his own intuition. He couldn't use more accurate words to describe it. But the steamed beef pies in this shop were bouncy, fragrant, smooth, and tender. Every small piece seemed to have a life of its own. Chow Lele, who once said she didn't like steamed beef, broke her rule and praised it. According to what he heard, they made the steamed beef with deboned beef. They gave up the appearance of big pieces in exchange for the lively taste. The white pies used to hold the beef pies were made with the best ingredients and had a sweet aftertaste. They could whet people's appetite without anything else. While thinking, Lu Cheng saw the stall owner grab a handful of green onions and shake them down. Green onions? He suddenly came back to himself and stared at the stall owner. Didn't you say you don't want green onions? The stall owner was embarrassed. Sorry. It was too smooth. You see, I haven't mixed it well. Just a little bit. I'll pick it out. Lu Cheng was annoyed and amused at the same time. Forget it. Give me these 2 as well. I'll eat them myself. Also, give me 2 more that don't need onions. Remember, don't need onions. Okay. The stall owner was relieved and became more focused. He first gave the 2 with green onions to Lu Cheng, and then mixed the steamed beef pies without green onions. Lu Cheng stared at the stall owner like a tiger watching its prey, ready to attack if the stall owner put in green onions. He took a bite of the pies and felt the familiar bouncy, tender, and smooth texture in his mouth. It was so delicious that he wanted to cry. He wolfed down the 2 pies in a few bites, as if he hadn't eaten them for years. But in fact, he had only eaten 4 pies when he came for the exercise yesterday. After confirming that there were no green onions, he took out the money and handed it to the stall owner. He grabbed the food bag with the pies and turned to rush out of the snack street. He called for a taxi while walking. Next destination, Wang's Rice Noodles. 10 minutes later, he appeared at the door of Wang's Rice Noodles. He looked at the window of the restaurant and saw that the steamer was still there. He was completely relieved. He was only 1 step away from the perfect completion of the mission. Wang's Rice Noodles was originally an imitation of Crossing Bridge rice noodles. But after years of operation, they gradually integrated Shoshan characteristics. They boiled the soup base in a clay pot and served the noodles after cooking. The soup was their specialty, with a long aftertaste and both sweetness and freshness. And the glutinous rice cake was white and plump. It was tender, smooth, and sweet. Because it was wrapped in zongzi leaves and steamed, it had a little bit of serenity. 2. Lu Cheng said to the waiter with a smile. After buying the glutinous rice cake, it was only 4:10. According to the exercise, he went straight home by taxi. He sneaked into his room and took out the small vacuum machine and the corresponding bags. He put the steamed beef pies, braised quail eggs, and glutinous rice cakes into different bags, vacuumed them, sealed them, and stuffed them into different layers of the large thermal lunchbox he bought. While doing this, he was still chatting with Yenjika and didn't expose his actions. Seeing that it was still early at 6 o'clock, he came out and said to Chi Fong, "Mom, I'm taking the train tonight." Chi Fong, who was sitting on the sofa and watching TV, suddenly jumped up. "Why are you leaving so suddenly? When I asked you when you would go to school, you always said that it wasn't decided yet. Why are you leaving now?" "The martial arts club needs special training in advance." Lu Cheng lied a little. Chi Fong frowned and said, "I said that I would make a big meal for you before you leave. But there are no dishes today. Hey, I'll go to the supermarket." After saying this, she rushed out of the door without waiting for Lu Cheng's reply. Looking at his mom's back with guilt, Lu Cheng waited for time to pass. At 5:45, he called his mom to get in the car and rushed out of the door again. When he arrived at Old Lou's barbecue in the Old City area, he had just opened the door and was setting up the barbecue rack. "Take away 2 eggplants, no scallions," Lu Cheng emphasized. "Okay, sit down and wait for a while," Old Lou said with a smile. After waiting for a while, he saw that Old Lou was about to take the eggplants in and fry them. Lu Cheng couldn't help but remind him again, "Don't put scallions." Old Lou laughed and said, "Why are you so long-winded? I remember." Okay. Lu Cheng couldn't help but laugh at himself. But when he saw Old Lou's back disappear at the kitchen door, he subconsciously shouted again, "Don't put scallions." A few minutes later, Old Lou came out with a biodegradable disposable lunchbox and said grumpily, "Here, your eggplants are gone. Put them. Scallions." Thank you. Lu Cheng didn't care. He quickly paid the money and left the place with light steps. When he got home, while his mom was cooking in the kitchen, he put the eggplants together with the seasonings and oil into the corresponding bag, vacuumed it, sealed it, and put it in the bottom layer of the insulated lunchbox. After closing the lunchbox, he exhaled and his face was full of joy. Double protection, there should be no problem. Besides, he was taking the train tonight and would arrive at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. After one night, there might still be some heat left. At around 10 o'clock at night, carrying his luggage and the disguised insulated lunchbox, he said goodbye to his mom and dad and started his journey again. He took the black car to the train station. After waiting for an hour, Yenjika had already fallen asleep. Finally, The train arrived and he found his seat. After stuffing his backpack into the luggage rack, he looked at the insulated lunch box in his hand and felt that it wasn't safe to put it on. What if it shook off? If he put it on the small table, he wouldn't be in the innermost position. It would be inconvenient for others to come in and out, and it would disturb his sleep. After thinking carefully, he held the insulated lunch box in his arms, adjusted the seat, closed his eyes and prepared to sleep. Yenjuka would be surprised to see this, wouldn't she? Would she be moved? Although the spring festival cost a lot, with the New Year's money given by relatives and my original savings, I still have more than 16,000 yuan. It's enough for a private date, sigh. After the preliminaries plus the schedule of classes, I have very little time to date every week. But I can be Yenjuka's training partner, hehe. I wonder how far away I am from Lin K now. In his imagination, in his expectation, in his anxiety, and in his worry, Lu Cheng held the large lunchbox tightly and slowly fell asleep. The last clear thought in his mind was, Songcheng, I'm here again. Chapter 101. At 5:30 in the morning, Lu Cheng woke up naturally. Outside the window, the night sky was as dark as ink, dotted with stars. Subconsciously, he checked the thermal lunchbox to make sure there was nothing wrong with it. Then he went to the bathroom to relieve the pressure on his bladder, wash his face, and rinse his mouth. When he came back, he turned on his phone, logged into QQ, held the lunchbox tight, closed his eyes again, and meditated to practice condensation stance, seizing every minute and second. After more than 20 minutes, the beeping sound of a message came. Lu Cheng took it out and saw Yenjuka's struggling emoji with a red ribbon on her head. The pretty one is already up. She's copying what I used to say. He couldn't help but laugh in a low voice. He quickly replied, I'm the one who got up first. After a few words of greeting, Yenjuka went out for her morning exercise. He had been holding back the fact that he had brought delicious food in advance. How could he be happy without being surprised? At 6:13, the train arrived at Songqing North Station. Lu Cheng carried his luggage and lunchbox and moved away along with the crowd. It was a little bright outside, and the damp and cold air hit his face. At this time, there were basically no online taxis available. Taxis would complain that Songqing University was too close to the old campus and wouldn't make much money, so they wouldn't take passengers. Lu Cheng went to a nearby bus station, waited for a while, and then got on the first bus. It was empty, and there were no more than 5 people including him and the driver. He didn't find a seat, but stood on the spacious ground at the back door, with his feet apart, and meditated. He felt the start, stop, and bumpy of the bus, constantly adjusting his center of gravity and practicing yin-yang stance. Martial arts in daily life. After a few stops, Lu Cheng arrived at the old campus of Songqing University. He went to the school bus station with familiarity and waited for the first bus to go to the new campus. While waiting, he put his backpack and insulated lunchbox in a clean place, took off his down jacket, and put it on top. He wore a sweater and casual trousers. Like an old man or woman practicing Tai Chi, he slowly practiced every move, using the training routine to temper most of his body. He turned a blind eye to the curious and amused gazes of the few people around him who were waiting for the bus. Half a year could change a person. He no longer had any shyness about practicing martial arts or lack of confidence in front of others. At 6:40 a.m., the first school bus opened on time and headed for the new district in the suburbs. Lu Cheng played out the big and small hand wrap in his mind, competing with himself. The ripples of Weishui Lake reflected the surrounding trees and mountains, as well as the reflections of the brightly lit teaching buildings. This familiar scene made Lu Cheng feel more at ease, more settled, and a sense of belonging grew within him. Early in the morning it was chilly. Facing the spring chill, he walked on the pedestrian street in groups of 3s and 4s. For many students of Songqing University, this was the last stage of recitation and preparation for self-study at 7:20 a.m. Dorm 302, Unit 2, Building 7. Lu Cheng took out his keys and opened 2 doors. When he entered the small room, Zhao Chong, Qiu Zhigao, and Zhang Jingye were no longer there. Everything was neatly arranged. It was obvious that they had gone to the cafeteria for breakfast and started a day of self-study. In the small dormitory next door, the sound of snoring was faintly audible. Little Ming must have played online games with them for a long time last night, Lu Qing thought to himself. He put down his luggage and opened the thermal lunchbox. He found a pair of scissors and cut open the bags one by one, pouring them into different layers that could be taken out. It's really warm. Just a little heat in the microwave will do. Braised quail eggs can't be heated like this, but it's barely edible. He checked and rearranged the thermal lunchbox. Carrying it, he went out excitedly and nervously. He went to a cafeteria near the girls' dormitory and found the microwave for heating food. He occupied a seat next to it and waited patiently for Yinjika to finish her morning exercise. While waiting, his mind was full of thoughts and he couldn't calm down. His heart beat faster and faster. He was even more nervous than when he entered the ring for the first time. What should I say later? Just say that I brought the glutinous rice cake and ask her to come here. It's the easiest kind of cake to bring, but also the least sincere one. She should be surprised when she sees the rest. Should I take the opportunity to say something? Well, what should I say? If she subconsciously asks, "Do you still remember?" I should say, "I remember everything you told me." No, Little Ming said that before the girl makes the final decision, I can't give her too obvious hints. That will give her pressure and make her uncomfortable, resulting in the opposite effect. Then I should change my wording and tone and say, "Of course I remember everything you told me." It's a little suggestive but not too obvious. Well, I should also pay attention to my breathing. It can't be too fast or too nervous. It has to be calm and generous. Lu Cheng's thoughts were running fast. He designed different scenes and thought about different dialogues. He deliberated and practiced repeatedly, even taking the breathing rhythm into consideration. In the end, he couldn't sit still anymore. He stood up and paced back and forth, as if Yinjika was standing in front of him. He kept practicing, striving to perform perfectly and leave the girl with the best impression. At 8 o'clock, Yinjika finished her morning exercise and began to chat with him intermittently. After confirming that she had taken a shower with hot water, Lu Qing took a deep breath and sent a snickering emoji. "I brought you a glutinous rice cake. Come and eat." Yinjika sent a surprised emoji covering its mouth. "You really brought a glutinous rice cake? Hee, not bad. You still remember me, Coach Yen. Good, I'm hungry. Where are you?" "The microwave in the cafeteria." Lu Qing held back his excitement and answered. He quickly put the roasted eggplant, steamed beef pancake, and glutinous rice cake into the cafeteria. After a short while, he placed them one by one on the table in the cafeteria. He stood behind the food and looked at the entrance. Thump, 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 thump. His heart beat like a drum, and his blood rushed into his brain, making him tremble slightly. He recalled what he had practiced repeatedly just now. After a short while, a beautiful figure that he had been thinking about day and night appeared at the entrance. Yinjika was wearing a white sweater, a plain long-down jacket, dark jeans, and snow boots. She attracted the attention of passers-by. She stood there, looking around in confusion, looking for traces. Her head was slightly tilted, and her black hair cascaded down like a waterfall. She was so beautiful that Lu Cheng was in a trance. He almost forgot the breathing that he had practiced. Finally, she confirmed the location of the microwave oven and saw Lu Cheng. Her lips curled into a faint smile. She raised her right hand, signaled him, and quickly approached him. Lu Cheng hurriedly took 2 steps forward and met her at the table. Yinjika opened her pink lips and was about to say something when she suddenly saw the 4 delicacies on the table. Old Lu's roasted eggplant, steamed beef pancake, Wang's glutinous rice cake, braised quail egg, and 3 steaming dishes in front of her. She pouted and opened her mouth, forming a cute shape. She immediately raised her right hand and covered her mouth. She turned her head and looked in the opposite direction. She swayed her long hair, leaving only a side profile of her face to Lu Cheng. Her nose was straight, her face was rosy, and her skin was soft and smooth. Her long eyelashes drooped down and covered her eyes. After a short silence, she turned her head and looked at Lu Qing up and down. There seemed to be thousands of bright stars hidden in her eyes. Lu Qing had always heard that the eyes were the window to the soul and could see other people's emotions. But at this time, he could only read the surprise and joy in Yinjika's eyes. As for the rest, it was too complicated to say. Yinjika put down her right hand and lowered her head. She said with a smile, "You really brought all of them here." "Yes, I said I would repay Coach Yan's kindness. After all, you are my life mentor." Lu Qing just blurted out the answer and wanted to slap himself. What the hell was he talking about? It was completely different from the repeated practice just now. His mind was a little blank. He felt that his body was stiff, and he couldn't perform well. Then he heard Yinjika's chuckle, and saw her pursing her lips and smiling eyes. She seemed to be amused. Yinjika turned her head and looked to the side again. She said as if nothing had happened, "You eat with me. I can't eat so much. It won't taste good when it gets cold." Okay. Lu Qing was delighted. He hated that the tables and chairs in the cafeteria were fixed together, so he couldn't pull out a chair for a girl. When he just sat down, he suddenly remembered something. He hurriedly stood up and said with annoyance, "Chopsticks. Chopsticks." He forgot to pick up chopsticks. Now he was going to lose points again. He didn't dare to look at Yinjika and hurried to the window. He heard the girl's faint laughter behind him. Picking up the chopsticks, he mentally prepared himself and turned back. He saw Yinjika looking at him with a smile, without any disgust or disgust. Heaving a sigh of relief, a smile naturally appeared on his face. He quickly walked back and handed the chopsticks to the girl. Sitting opposite her, he watched as she elegantly picked up a piece of eggplant. Her neat white teeth were slightly exposed as she delicately ate it in small bites. Her black and long thin eyebrows relaxed, revealing a bit of satisfaction. There was a different kind of beauty. Lu Qing couldn't get enough of her. He kept peeking at her secretly, and took every opportunity to look. Yinjika's delight in the food was like her affirmation of him, filling him with a strong sense of satisfaction. Suddenly, Yinjika raised her head and looked at him with her clear eyes. She caught his peeking eyes. Subconsciously, Lu Qing looked to the side and picked up the chopsticks. He casually picked up a pea and stuffed it into his mouth to hide it. Yinjika seemed to have eaten too much. Her cheeks were slightly red. She lowered her head again and said with a faint smile, "Coach sure sent an email to all the members of the martial arts club, saying that this semester's martial arts class will start on time the day after tomorrow. As for the special training, it will start tomorrow if everyone is here. If not, it will be the day after tomorrow. Wait for the notice. Have you read it?" Lu Qing was at a loss at first. He was stunned for a while, and then came to his senses. Yes. We'll talk about the preliminaries then." The long-distance communication during the holiday made him a little nervous and uncomfortable. When he was with Yinjika in person, he didn't know how to chat with her. Fortunately, she started the topic first. Following the matter of the martial arts club, he showed his true colors when communicating online and didn't let the atmosphere become awkward. Unconsciously, Yinjika put down her chopsticks. There was only a little residue left in the different layers of the lunchbox in front of her. Of course, part of it was Lu Qing's contribution, but he was too busy looking at the girl opposite him, intoxicated by her every frown and smile, to eat without tasting anything. "I can't believe I ate so much. Will I get fat?" Yinjika said worriedly. Lu Qing hurried to comfort her. "You won't. You are practicing martial arts. You consume a lot of energy. You need to eat more." Yinjika nodded slightly and glanced at the thermal lunchbox. "It's so effective. I think the braised quail egg is still warm. It's not cold. It's a little better than I expected." Lu Qing beamed as if he was praised. After chatting for a while, he assembled the lunchbox and sent Yinjika back to the dormitory. The two walked side by side. Lu Qing smelled a faint fragrance, which stirred his soul and made him feel like he was in a fairyland. He didn't know if it was the smell of her shampoo or the fragrance of her body. Amidst all kinds of uncontrollable thoughts, he quietly sized her up again. He saw her jade-like white hair, small and delicate ears, and her mouth running like a train, talking about random topics. Soon, they arrived at the door of the third building where Yinjika was. When they were about to say goodbye, Lu Qing suddenly thought of something. He looked forward to it and asked worriedly, "Didn't I say I would treat you to a big meal to repay your good character? When will you be free?" She won't go back on her words. I should be able to ask her out. Yinjika looked to the side, pursed her lips and smiled. Then you have to make a good strategy. You can't take me to a bad meal. Strategy? Lu Qing was stunned for a moment, and then he realized that the girl had agreed. His mind buzzed and his heart was filled with joy. He hurriedly said, Okay, I'll make a strategy as soon as possible. No, right away. Well, I'll go back first. I still have to work on the winter vacation investigation report. Yinjika didn't look back. She waved her hand and stepped into the door of the third building. Lu Qing stood outside the door, restless and happy. He watched Yinjika's back as she walked to the entrance of the building. Her hair reached her vest. Her hair was so good, she should be 165 meters tall. Her proportions were so good. Her legs were so long and straight. While he was thinking about it, he suddenly saw the girl turn her head. This scared him. He was afraid that she would find out about his lecherous look. Seeing his bewildered look, Yinjika rolled her eyes and smiled sweetly. Lu Qing's mind seemed to explode. He stared at her, and for the first time deeply understood the ancient poem. Looking back with a smile, 100 charms appear. He didn't wake up until the girl disappeared at the entrance of the building. He was excited and restless. What should I do next? Could it be that he could take advantage of the private meeting to try and hold her hand while crossing the road? He couldn't calm down, and planned to go back to ask Kai Xiaoming for advice. When he entered the dormitory, before he knocked on the door of the opposite room, Kai Zongming jumped out with a black hero's bandana wrapped around his head. What are you doing? Lu Qing was shocked. Kai Zongming said seriously, I, Kai Zongming, am not convinced by your strength. That you're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.